Mocked for my weight, I transformed with confidence. When I returned, my family grew jealous and tried to bring me down. Growing up, I was always an overweight child. I've always been bigger than the majority of the other kindergarten students. While my peers were still figuring out what made them distinctive, my size had already stood out. As I grew older, the weight I carried became more visible. By high school, I was indisputably overweight, and my shape and girth served as a continuous reminder of my differences. College was not much different. While some of my peers began to discover who they were or explore new aspects of themselves, I stayed trapped in the same identity, overweight and occasionally fighting with it. It wasn't easy being the bigger kid. It exposed me to continual ridicule, mockery, and nasty comments from people who didn't know or cared to understand me. Growing up, I was bullied more than I'd want to recall. Classmates teased me mercilessly. Their words ate away at me, creating profound doubts and self-doubt that, at times, felt hard to overcome. They'd call me names and make crude jokes, and I'd frequently be the punchline. I was always singled out, as if I were somehow unworthy of affection or companionship. I was continually excluded from games, parties, and gatherings. It felt like I was always on the outside, watching everyone else go through the regular ups and downs of childhood and adolescence from a distance I couldn't reach. These years of bullying influenced how I perceived myself and responded to the world. I felt out of place with others, so I sought sanctuary in books. I lost myself in literature and stories that helped me escape my daily troubles. Books did not judge me. They did not ridicule me. I became known as the nerd, and I didn't like it all that much. My younger sister, Bonnie, was radically different from me. She was only a year younger than me and possessed an effortless charisma that drew others to her. Bonnie thrived in social situations, whereas I was shy and reserved. She had a magnetic personality. She could come into a room and immediately have everyone smiling, laughing, and absolutely fascinated by her. Bonnie didn't just make friends easily. She seemed to have an intrinsic ability to persuade people to support her, almost as if she were the sun around which everyone gravitated. Regardless of our differences, I adored her. I took my job as her older sister seriously, feeling fiercely protective whenever she needed it. When she began attending the same high school as mine, I was overjoyed. Initially, being Bonnie's older sister made me feel proud, as if I had a particular place in her life. However, as she grew older, things began to alter. As Bonnie settled into high school and began to create her own personality, I saw a difference in how she perceived me. She began to see how different we were, and how differently we were treated. Whereas I was the bookish, quiet kind, she was vivacious and popular, someone who rapidly established herself among the cool circle. I observed as she became aware of my peculiarities and insecurities, which others considered uncool. Bonnie began to distance herself from me as she found new pals. She would then try to actively ignore or avoid me in school. That hurt. It genuinely pained me that my own sibling saw me as inferior. Nonetheless, I did my best to accept her decision, to give her the space she appeared to need, even if it hurt to think I was losing not only my sister, but also a friend. Bonnie gradually stopped ignoring me and began interacting with people who made me feel like an outcast. If Bonnie and I met in the corridors or at lunch, she and her pals would take advantage of any opportunity to embarrass me. They'd taunt me in front of other students or, worse, try to trip me as I passed past with my lunch tray, just to make everyone laugh. It seemed like I was losing her, not only to new people, but to the same mocking and nasty conduct I'd had to put up with for so long. I was always on guard, attempting to avoid not just my peers' criticism but also the humiliation inflicted by my own sister. It hurt a lot, especially because it came from someone I had always admired and looked up to. When Bonnie invited her pals over, they would try to gang up on me at home. They would rush into my room without knocking, then laugh and gesture to my body. They'd fling insults like geek and fatty at me like they were nothing. I'd feel like a zoo animal, as if I were there to entertain them. When they entered my personal space in my room, I felt small and alone, as if I were an alien in my own home. I tried talking to my parents about it several times, hoping they would realize how tough it was for me to deal with Bonnie's conduct. But every time I brought it up, they dismissed my worries. They'd smile and defend her actions, claiming that this was how siblings related, and that Bonnie was merely playing with me. They told me it was harmless, even suggesting that I loosen up and stop taking everyone's taunts so seriously. They told me that I was older and should be more patient and resilient. So, not only did I face years of bullying from my peers, including my own sister, but my concerns were repeatedly rejected by my parents. It made me feel isolated, as if no one in my own family realized or understood how deeply it hurt. The only time I ever felt properly noticed by our parents was when I received my grades. Academics had always come effortlessly to me, and I became accustomed to receiving high grades. In a way, it was the one area where I felt superior to everyone else. It was also the one way I could make my parents proud. The one part of my life that they appeared to actually care about. My parents enjoyed bragging about my accomplishments to friends and family, portraying me as the family scholar, as if my grades were evidence of their parenting prowess. But Bonnie detested the analogies. She was not an academic overachiever, nor did she want to be, but our parents' repeated reminders of my accomplishments made her resentful. They put my grades up as an example, meaning that she needed to do the same. I could always sense her annoyance and rage, which I assume is why she did what she did to me. Bonnie would occasionally attempt to destroy my hard work in order to get back at me. She'd sneak into my room in the middle of the night and take my homework. Sometimes, shortly before a large task was due, I'd wake up in the morning to find my meticulously finished work gone. Panic would set in, and I'd feverishly hunt through my books, papers, and files, becoming increasingly anxious with each passing minute. And there she'd be, smirking, watching me from the doorway, relishing every moment of my anxiety. To her, it was a minor win, a way to bring me down a peg and remind me that I wasn't invincible. She understood how important my grades were to me, how much of my self-worth I had invested in them, and she enjoyed disturbing that aspect of my life. I only out about her stealing my assignments years later, when she drunkenly admitted one evening. My friendship with Bonnie has grown softer over time. Though we're not close, you might say we've matured a little, and some of the bitterness from our youth has dissipated. However, the strong closeness that siblings often enjoy did not fully emerge between us. After college, I moved away and began constructing a life in a new place with an interesting job and new chances, which meant I didn't visit my family very frequently. As time passed, our communications became limited to occasional phone calls or texts. So, when I decided to travel home for the summer, I was truly excited to see everyone. It had been a long time since we'd all gotten together as a family, and I was excited to catch up and reconnect. However, not everything went as planned. Our family lunch began well enough. Everyone appeared delighted to see me, and for a moment, it felt like old times. That changed, however, when Bonnie unexpectedly revealed her engagement. None of us saw it coming, and we initially assumed she was joking. However, it became evident that she was serious. She proudly put out her hand, displaying a gorgeous ring, and I couldn't help but remark how exquisite it was. I was genuinely happy for her, delighted that she'd finally met someone she loved and who loved her back. Almost as soon as the congratulations subsided, Bonnie turned to me and inquired about my recent activities. I told her about my profession, my life, and how rewarding things had been for me. Before I could finish, she cut me off. "I can't help but say this," she started, smirking. "But why are you still fat? I mean, if your life is really that great, shouldn't you have lost weight by now?" Her remarks hit me like a slap, reawakening old insecurities I thought I had overcome. The room became uncomfortably silent, and I could feel everyone's gaze on me, waiting to see how I would respond. I merely shrugged and tried to laugh awkwardly at her comment. But my parents immediately joined in to criticize me. They began talking about how I was still obese and unmarried, and how they were concerned that I would never have children. I felt so mortified hearing them talk like that. My successes, the profession I was proud of, the life I had made on my own in another city, none of it seemed to matter to them. They were just concerned with my weight and the fact that I did not have my own family. As my parents and sister continued to talk about me, their comments wounded deeper than I imagined. I'd spent years of my life finally coming into my own, gaining confidence and independence, yet at those moments, I felt like the same nervous, awkward teenager I'd always been, desperate for my family's acceptance. My parents then applauded Bonnie for getting engaged before me and expressed their pride in her. To them, I was the inferior child, successful but not quite enough. What was supposed to be a happy family reunion had swiftly turned into a heartbreaking reminder of old scars. At that point, I felt more like an outsider than ever. Bonnie did not stop. She continued to ask probing questions. "So, when are you getting married? I mean, do you even have a boyfriend?" She was blatantly mocking me in front of everyone by bringing up my romantic life. My parents eagerly jumped on the subject, agreeing with Bonnie that it was past time for me to meet someone before it was too late. They pointed out that Bonnie, being younger, was settling down before me, but I, being older, was still throwing my life away at work. I attempted to argue that I liked my life the way it was, that my profession and freedom provided me with fulfillment. My job paid well, and I was passionate about it. And why did I have to find a man and have a child? I am content just as I am. But my words didn't appear to register. My mother, in particular, appeared disdainful, giving me a pointed look and taunting, What's the point of earning all that money if you don't have anyone to come home to? It was as if she couldn't believe that happiness existed outside of marriage or family. Sitting there, I had the typical feeling of being misunderstood, that my life choices were disregarded. This was my family, the ones who should have known me best, but they seemed to be obsessed with a different idea of happiness. I had come home seeking connection and warmth, but instead got judgment and taunts. Bonnie then mentioned that she anticipated me to have at least a +1 by the time her wedding rolled around. She explained that she didn't want people to think her sister was an old, miserable woman who was getting married alone. The comment stung. I simply shook my head and assured her I would try. This is when my parents casually told me that since Bonnie's wedding was approaching, even if I couldn't find a spouse, I could at least try to lose weight and look better for her wedding. They suggested that if I reduced weight, it would be simpler for me to attract a partner. Bonnie agreed with my parents and said she wanted me to lose at least a few pounds. I sat there, astonished and humiliated, with an aching that I hadn't felt in years. How could my relatives talk to me like this? Did I truly deserve their hateful words simply because I was overweight? Was I not meant to have feelings because I was fat? I was a normal human being, just like them. I functioned exactly like everyone else. I never saw my weight as a hindrance, so why should they? I'd even dated men who liked me just the way I was, but my parents and Bonnie were making it appear as if my weight kept me from finding love or having men approach me, which wasn't even true. I wanted to defend myself and tell them how cruel their words were, but I felt paralyzed and unable to find the correct words. Their statements took me back to high school, to the agonizing times when my weight made me a target. I despised how nonchalantly my relatives brought up my deepest fears, seemingly unconcerned about how they affected me. So I sat there, holding in my pain, and let the topic go to anything else. When I returned home from my trip to see my family, I pushed myself into reducing weight with a zeal I had not realized I possessed. It began as a method to prove something to my family, but it eventually grew more personal. I joined a gym, followed a rigorous diet, and even hired a personal trainer. My trainer has been a lifesaver. She knew just how to assist me through a path tailored to my own needs, having gone through her own change from overweight to healthy weight. She created a routine specific to my goals and encouraged me every step of the way, reminding me to give myself grace when I stumbled. This time, everything seemed to click. I started losing weight steadily, and as the pounds fell off, I felt lighter, not just physically but also mentally. For the first time in my life, I began to feel and appear different. My confidence increased quickly. I used to assume that decreasing weight wouldn't have much of an influence, but it has. People see me differently today. Strangers are nicer and more attentive. Friends and colleagues regard me with fresh respect, and I can't deny that this feels like a validation I've never had before. It's as if I've suddenly become more noticeable than I was before. My new body brought a new sense of style. I overhauled my entire wardrobe, filling it with clothing I'd only fantasized about wearing. I even opted for a full hair makeover, attempting a daring and trendy style that I would have been too afraid to try in the past. Perhaps it seems expensive, but I've never felt so good. I look in the mirror now, and I don't recognize the person staring back. It's like meeting a version of myself that I never knew existed. I'm proud of how far I've gone, not just because I've lost weight, but also because I've gained confidence and self-assurance. Bonnie's wedding is approaching, so my family has invited me to fly down and join them for lunch to finalize some details. However, I do not feel like returning home. I don't want my family to ridicule me again and make me feel tiny, especially now that I'm feeling good about myself for the first time in a long while. I don't want to go to Bonnie's wedding anymore because of how she and my parents have treated me. But I know if I don't go, they'll be furious and give me a long lecture about how family is family and how, no matter how heartbroken I am, I must be present for Bonnie's big day. So, would it be wrong for me not to attend my sister's wedding? Update 1. Wow. I'm overwhelmed by everyone's response. Some of your proposals are truly humorous. I can't believe you're encouraging me to show up and mess with my sister now that I've shed so much weight. Growing up as a fat kid had a negative impact on my self-esteem, particularly in terms of how I perceived myself. I struggled with self-doubt for a long time, always believing that I wasn't good enough or didn't measure up to others. But reading all of your responses has been a game changer. It's as if you've helped me see myself in a completely new light, and I'm finally starting to feel more confident than I ever have. In fact, I'm seriously considering turning up to my family's lunch and shocking them. They haven't seen me in a long time, and since I don't use social media, they have no idea how much weight I've dropped. It will be interesting to witness their reactions. Update 2. Okay, Reddit, you're not prepared for this upgrade. Grab some popcorn because things are about to get exciting. I decided to fly down to join my family for lunch. I assumed that when they saw me, they would be happy with the transformation I had undergone, because after all, they had been the ones who pushed me toward it in the first place. Surely, they'd be overjoyed to see the positive improvements in me and finally recognize the effort I'd put in. The instant I walked into my parents' house, their jaws absolutely dropped. They looked at me, astonished, as if they couldn't believe I was the same person. After a time, they stammered, wondering if it was actually me. I gave them a big hug, thrilled with their reaction. They continually complimented my appearance, saying how beautiful I looked and how they couldn't believe it was me. However, when Bonnie came, the situation changed. She didn't notice me at first, disregarding me as if I were invisible, as she had done many times before. But when I rose up to greet her, she did a double take, her eyes widening with surprise. She gave an odd, almost forced laugh before reaching over and pushing her fingers on my stomach, wide-eyed, as if she wanted proof that I had truly dropped all of that weight. My parents chuckled at her reaction and informed her that they couldn't believe it either. As we settled in for lunch, the subject turned to my makeover. Bonnie and my parents bombarded me with questions about how I'd done it, marveling at how different I appeared. Their voices were full of surprise, as if they had never imagined I could look any other way. Bonnie, in particular, kept saying that she had never anticipated me to shift so dramatically. After a while, she said, "When I first requested you to lose weight, I never imagined you'd look this good. I had no idea you had that jawline and those ankles underneath all that fat." I hesitated, trying to retain my cool, and smiled at her before telling her, "Bonnie, I've always been gorgeous. Losing weight simply improved my characteristics." Bonnie, on the other hand, contended that it wasn't just that. There was something else about me that was unique. She then had the audacity to inquire, "Did you have any procedures done on yourself? Because you can't look this fantastic on your own." I could feel my blood starting to boil. The hubris to believe that I required surgery to look attractive, despite the fact that I had worked so hard to achieve my current appearance. I looked her directly in the eyes and said, "Wow, Bonnie. It's amazing how little you think of me. No surgery, just a lot of hard work and self-love, which you should try someday." Bonnie's expression changed from surprise to displeasure, but I didn't care. It felt amazing to finally say something and put her in her place. Before she could react, my parents jumped in, attempting to smooth things over in their own way. "You shouldn't be offended," my mother replied. "All three of us have never seen you look like this before. Honestly, you look more lovely now than Bonnie, and she's the one getting married." Bonnie appeared much angrier following Mom's remark. I simply ignored her and concentrated on my food, allowing my sister to seethe in her rage. Then my mother interjected. "You know, I was thinking, maybe you should go back to your original hair color. I believe you would look even better in your natural hue. This blonde appearance causes you to stand out too much. Maybe you could just return to your former look." Bonnie and my father quickly agreed with her. My father supported my mother, saying that Bonnie was always the blonde daughter in the family and I was the brunette, so it would be a good idea for me to return to my original hair color, which would make me appear more like myself. Hearing their statements, I was taken aback. I suddenly felt like the three of them were ganging up on me and attempting to bring me down. My hairstylist was the one who changed my hair color to blonde because it complemented my skin tone and face better. It had nothing to do with attempting to outperform or overshadow my sister. I could see why Bonnie was jealous of me because I looked so nice right now, but I couldn't figure out why my parents were so unhappy with me. It was as if they wanted to revert me to my original self, despite the fact that they were the ones who wanted me to be more acceptable for their darling daughter's forthcoming wedding. But now that I did, they couldn't accept who I had become. Instead of recognizing my progress, they sought to undermine me. Finally, I questioned my folks. "What is your problem? Why can't I be blonde? Does my sister own that hue or something?" I paused, annoyed. "No, she doesn't. I can be either blonde or brunette. It's my decision. Why does it matter to you so much?" I couldn't understand why they were so obsessed with returning to my former self, as if my appearance had to match who I was. My mother scoffed at me, claiming that I was willfully sabotaging Bonnie's approaching wedding by attempting to stand out with my appearance. Bonnie also jumped in, suggesting that with my weight loss, I was already going to stand out, so did I really need to match her hair color? My father, as usual, agreed with them, telling me that I was being difficult for no reason and that, as Bonnie's sister, I should be more tolerant. I couldn't believe what I heard. It was not about stealing anything, it was about giving myself the freedom to do whatever made me happy. But instead of supporting it, they were all concerned about how it would make Bonnie uncomfortable. "Do you know what? I'm done with this," I murmured, the words almost burning as they left my lips. "The three of you are so wrapped up in your own negativity that you can't even admit I've changed. The reality is, I've always been fantastic just the way I am, but none of you ever noticed. Now that I've lost weight, it's still not good enough for you. No matter what I do, it is never enough. I took time to process what I had just said. They only gazed at me, and it didn't matter. I was done with holding back. Since you all have so much to say about me, I believe it is time I gave you some unsolicited advice, just like you do to me. I turned to my mother first, feeling the words surge inside me like a deluge. Mom, I really hate how loose the skin is around your eyes and your lips. They droop on one side when you laugh. I can't help but notice all your crooked teeth, and honestly, it's just disgusting to me. Dad, I said sharply. You're bald. You really have no right to say anything about anyone's hair or their hair color. How are you going to criticize someone's looks when you can't even keep a full head of hair? I noticed his face stiffening, but I wasn't finished yet. Finally, I resorted to Bonnie. And you, don't ever talk down to me again. Between the two of us, I've always been the better-looking sibling. But now, with all the weight I've lost, you look even fatter than me. Just look at those chubby arms of yours. Bonnie's cheeks flushed with shame, and she appeared to be on the verge of tears. I then hoisted my glass, downed my drink in one go, and walked out with a smirk, leaving everyone stunned and astonished. I said everything I had to say. I couldn't believe these words had come from my mouth, yet I didn't regret them one bit. They deserved to be humiliated after years of being criticized. After lunch, I flew directly back home. I didn't want to stay behind and attend Bonnie's wedding. Since then, my phone has been overloaded with voicemails and texts from my parents and Bonnie. They've been calling me disrespectful and foul-mouthed for how I spoke to them and then left. Mom even insists that I fly down to Bonnie's wedding, claiming that not having me there will make her in-laws unhappy. Update 3. So I ended up skipping Bonnie's wedding. Thanks to all of your suggestions, instead of returning home to attend, I decided to treat myself to an impromptu stay at a 5-star resort. It was truly one of the best moves I'd made in a long time. I spent the weekend doing whatever made me happy. No drama or pressure, just pure enjoyment. I treated myself to a spa day, binge-watched my favorite shows, and even discovered some new sites in the city that I'd been dying to visit. I've also blocked my relatives, so they can't contact me again. I'm weary of being bullied by them and want to avoid all of the poison and drama. Right now, my primary focus is on self-care. My family is trying to make my golden child sister the bride at my wedding. I'm planning my revenge. I'm getting married, and my family wants my golden child sister to go down the aisle in white. I'm going to take my revenge. Here I am, writing this lengthy story on my vacation, but it seems cathartic to finally get it out. My hubby is more enthused about this than the resort drinks. This is a throwaway because I don't have a Reddit account, and my spouse, the Reddit fanatic, has stated that he does not want this affiliated with him. As for why the Reddit person isn't writing this, he said that because it's my family, I should be the one to write the tale, but he's over my shoulder to help out. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure how this works, but I do not give permission for this to be reposted anywhere. I believe it is vital to provide some context to explain how this behavior escalated and why our responses were as they were. I am sorry for the long read. My parents have always shown more affection for my sister. I do not mean in subtle ways either. If my sister accuses me of something, they will believe her and punish me. They wouldn't believe me if I accused her, even if I had undeniable evidence. They'd still give her a lighter punishment while simultaneously scolding me. My birthday cake had to be the flavor she preferred, hers did not. My parents always denied knowing I disliked that style of cake. They always paid a little more for her than for me. We went where she wanted, even though it was an occasion that was supposed to be about me. My sister grew up pampered and disliked me. She used me as a punching bag. She generally ignored me at first, but when we were early teenagers, things got pretty ugly. I'm not sure what caused it, but she lost all of her friends and her conduct deteriorated. Did her buddies relocate? Did they leave her because she was mean? I don't know because we were never close, and my parents loved to brag about her accomplishments while never mentioning any problems. Unlike me, they enjoyed continuously pointing out my weaknesses as taunting material. I just knew she had none because we went to the same school and I observed she was no longer roaming around with other people. Anyway, she didn't have any friends. I did. I used to be fairly popular. My sister noticed this, and I went from being an occasional punching bag to a despised somebody she had to eliminate at all costs. She began accusing me of more of everything. She charged my friends with numerous transgressions. My parents stopped letting me hang around with anyone. Their explanations ranged from "they're not decent people according to your sister," to "why are you attempting to leave us?" Why won't you enjoy family time and be like your sister? Extended family gave me something to prevent total solitude. My cousins and I got along despite minor age disparities. Most of my relatives resided in the same town. They invited me over to something at one occasion. I regrettably said, I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I don't recall what. My child self, without thinking through it, said that it was because I wasn't allowed to have friends since my sister didn't have any. That got to the grown-ups, who supposedly split my parents apart later. It was worth it even though I was grounded, as if I had someplace to go, for a month and was chastised for lying. After that, they let me some freedom. And my sister started a different school. She begged to be changed, and I suppose the humiliation of extended family knowing her socio-economic level was terrible. Though it cost more since the school was further away, my parents complied right away. At the new school though, she befriended others. She never returned to the former norm of largely ignoring me though. She never let me go. I suppose she was enraged that I informed her family she had no friends and felt the power of how badly she could screw with me. My life continued to be miserable. Her pals would visit and harass me and my parents would label it light teasing. My parents were terrible hosts to friends, so I never invited anyone over. My sister would accuse them of pilfering items, and they would believe her. My parents never dared to do any of that to relatives, hence I did get close to my cousins. I then landed my first boyfriend. Though my parents pushed, I absolutely wanted not to bring him home. We were split once, and he came to locate me informing him that my sister was flirting with him. She meant she arrived in underfitting clothes, battered her lashes severely, and began telling him how horrible I was and how good she was. Angry, he bolted off to locate me. Naturally, my sister told my parents a different story, that my boyfriend had tried to flirt with her but she had naturally objected since, how could she do that to me? Try to guess what my folks thought. My guy was not perfect now, but I accepted him right away for a cruel reason. But keep in mind that I was a teenage victim of harsh treatment back then. Originally disliked my sister as much as I hated myself, I was extremely resentful and moody. Having that disclaimer clear the path, let us now discuss appearances. They weren't relevant, therefore I hadn't discussed them yet. Since my sister loved displaying love by food, giving you more food, buying sweets, etc., my sister was also overweight. My parents were overweight as well. Whereas I am not now and was not. Actually, I have always been really slim as punishment sometimes meant no snacks or treats. Obviously, personality is what counts, weight is not. Even then though, my sister was already spoilt and unpleasant. She never learnt to work for anything since she could demand and my parents would supply, hence even her flirting efforts were awful. Not to mention that she didn't seem like some beautiful model. Not even my self-conscious young self thought my boyfriend would attempt and cheat on me with her. My parents forbade me from dating such a bad lad, nonetheless. Though it was difficult, I did try to keep going in secret until the relationship broke. I did have another boyfriend, but once more, my sister claimed was flirting with her when he turned down her attempts. Once more, my parents believed her. I attempted pointing out how this happened once more, but they concluded that indicated I was incapable of making wise decisions and constantly choosing lousy mates. The relationship fluttered out once more, unable to manage the Romeo and Juliet scenario. In high school I would eventually be called names as I was okay with making out with guys and things but refused to form relationships. Luckily, it never got back to my parents or sister. Now, my sister did bring one man home over all this period. Until he stopped coming up, my parents spent every second reminding me how terrific he was and why I couldn't be like my sister and get myself someone like that. He was paraded with pride. He became suddenly a cunning bastard who misled my sister. Well then. And the unfair treatment carried on. She had more spending money at this time, her curfews were far better than mine, and she could go any place at any time whereas I was not free to. If I brought it up, my parents would claim it's because she's older. But I still didn't get the same treatment until I reached that age. Pointed out, they denied they ever stated that, or claimed it was because I couldn't be trusted like she was, citing my poor judgment against my partners and friends as evidence. Time passes and my sister's graduation is approaching. She had no scholarship or anything. She was admitted into a college, not a particularly esteemed one. Once more, I'm not sure which universities she ever tried for as only her successes were reported to me, hence I can't say how poorly she was turned down. She had poor marks in the classroom, though, since we would always celebrate any time she received a B. Usually I would obtain good marks, but my parents objected to celebrating since I always got those and asked what celebration would be appropriate. My parents assured my sister they would pay for everything and naturally made a lot of fanfare for her. She would be leaving, so relieving me, not that it would simplify my life. Every other weekend, she would always return home. Still, some item vanished from her room or some other problem she would consider to bring my life terrible. My curfews still were rigorous, etc. Finally, my mother came to discuss my approaching graduation. My sister is 1 year older than I am. She advised me to start working right away after graduation and wait until my sister completed college to see if they could afford anything for me since they were paying for her schooling and had no money for mine. Oh, and if I stayed at home I would have to pay rent, part of the bills, and all my stuff. I mentioned I may apply for school loans. Mom answered yes except not quite. That is because I had such poor judgment and they would evaluate whether or not a college was worth my getting in debt on given their extreme compassion for me. I didn't ask but I'm not sure how they would ban me from acquiring loans. Scholarships were not mentioned. They never believed in my ability either and had no idea what my grades were now. I did not blink at all. I said just okay. My mother continued to push plainly not expecting that. Perhaps she wanted me to act out so they might have a justification for never ever paying for my college. I only stated though, that I appreciated their concern and that I understood their viewpoint. Later, my dad tried the same, but I too refrained from showing emotions. You see, I never had any aspirations regarding my schooling after a lifetime of their horrible upbringing. I knew they would find a means to avoid paying for mine and ruin my life. Working and waiting for my sister to graduate never convinced me they would finally pay. I had long been getting ready for college. I had plenty of time to study. My friendships were few and I could hardly get out. And I studied as I saw my sole opportunity for freedom in college. When the time arrived, I worked assiduously and was awarded a scholarship. Not to some place like Ivy League or anything like law or medical school, but it was a good enough course in a solid university with a full scholarship. Knowing my sister would object and try to stop me using my parents, I posted my success on social media. I told them at the same moment, even made myself thank them in the post under duress. Now they would have to explain to the family why not, so they cannot stop me from leaving. They were first even somewhat proud and boasted about it. Then I suppose my sister arrived, and they shifted gears, even asking whether I was sure I wanted to go. They let out that my sister wasn't doing well in college. Since she was brighter and had better judgment than me, I would suffer more. I certainly stayed to my guns. Though they couldn't do anything, they were not happy. My savers were college. I began to find happiness. I still visited on holidays and such and spoke with my parents, but since they refused to pay for anything, I could explain not going a lot due of money. I skipped introducing any man to them during this period, and my sister quit attending college. She didn't graduate, since once more they would have made a hoopla over it. She returned home paying no rent or bills, but it's different, my parents noted. She began working for the same company as my mother, clearly because of her string pulling. I bought all of this to feel proud. Oh well, practically there, I swear. About this time I met my husband. You know those folks that claim, if I were in X situation, I would have done something. The kind that actually does is my hubby. I'm the type that is meek and a doormat in every circumstance, then I find myself unable to sleep at night wishing I had done something, considered something clever to say, etc. It is me that finds myself crying uncontrollably when I am furious. My hubby is the one that instantly claps back. He enjoys resolving drama as much as its production. If he doesn't react right away to a minor, you should start worrying as he won't forgive and forget. He is merely acting in a worse manner in payback. Though he wanted me to post on a nuclear revenge board as well, he insisted what we did wasn't nuclear. People were perplexed when I got acquainted with him, yet it didn't mean I didn't enjoy it since, thanks to my background, most likely, I was unable of acting like him. My husband treats people kindly as long as they treat him the same way, and I adore that he does what I cannot. When we talked about marriage, we agreed that our budget would not allow us much interest in the ceremony. Instead, we would much prefer spend on a dream vacation to Europe for our honeymoon. Regarding where to conduct it, we chose my hometown since his family was scattered and mine was still primarily concentrated there. We weren't living too far off either, so we could handle things by going on occasional weekend-long visits. There was also some work flexibility so, should necessary, we could spend some time at my hometown. A few months later, we issued the save the date and the engagement announcement. Well, at this time my folks naturally insisted they meet my man. I wanted to reject but was having trouble growing a spine. The distance had caused me to wonder maybe my folks weren't all that horrible. When I told my spouse, he looked like I canceled Christmas. At least I would guarantee they never left him alone. See, he had been getting ready for this. He even purchased a top-notch recorder he could hide in a pocket to capture everything. Driven, he considered all the ways he might turn down my sister's efforts. Offender, then forward the tape of her attempts to my family. So out he went alone and eager to see them, then returned later ecstatic. Babe, darling, the terrible things they yearn for would astound you. Babe, there are so many possibilities. We can screw them over so horrible. Though I wanted to hear the recording since I was perplexed, he wisely advised me it would be preferable to listen to him first, otherwise I might misinterpret him. He visited, and instead of the flirting, my sister and parents sat him down. My judgment, etc. They declared they were ready to pay for my wedding on one condition: my sister would walk down the aisle first, in a wedding dress, after some grumbling about not being comfortable with him. Their justification was that it was only fair if my sister got at least the experience of it, at my venue, with pictures being shot, in the dress, and she would have a cake later too, etc. It was not okay for a younger sister to marry first. My husband will type his part now. Hey, here's a resentful hubby. When his lover is mocked, hell hath no wrath like a pro-revenge, instantaneous karma, nuclear revenge lurker. Having said that, even if my wife, who is now my wife, paints me as this quick-witted guy, I admit my neurons all but short-circuited when those people legit proposed. Like, some sort of fantastic present even Troy would rather take in the horse a second time, methinks. After my brain reset, I did have a huge repertoire of insults ready to pour forth, but something in my soul whispered in my ear like the devil, string these along. I then claimed I had to consider how my fiancé, back then, would respond, and then hurried out before I could reveal my sinister intentions. Now back to me, the wife. With a smile on his face, my husband then truly related how my parents wanted even my wedding to be about my sister and had the recording to back it up. I looked surprised. The distance had eased their treatment of me, and I reasoned even they wouldn't travel so far. Fortunately, my husband's insistence on the angle of revenge prevented me from entering a negative headspace. We had a great time brainstorming ways to screw them over, ideas ranging from shockingly crazy to what we felt was practical. When we settled on a strategy, we then phoned his much more level-headed sibling. It included 2 venue addresses, giving the incorrect one, etc. Level-headed brother chastised us for this though. Although he admitted he would never be able to persuade us against revenge, at least he showed us anything like that would be difficult to execute. Among our other suggestions, several ran the danger of getting us sued. We finally decided on the most benign course of action. Follow our agreement, then pay security and forbid her access. Clearly, if that was it, that would not be pro-revenge. Mostly my hubby, but here goes since he wants me to do the honors. Just crucial to note, everything he accomplished was already covered with me and reflected our shared opinions. He returned to my parents, asked questions, then concluded I wouldn't be down with it. He didn't see the problem though, and his desire for family to remain intact would be in line with supporting them through that process. He noted that I dislike conflict, hence if I were shocked with it, I might not act out in front of all the people. Conversely, marriage is really important, so who knew if I would lose control? He so proposed a compromise. They would assist with expenses. In this sense, I would be even more under pressure to say nothing, since not only would we be in public with our families there, but I would be appreciative of their help, which would calm me. It was acceptable as my grown sister started skipping with delight, actually, like a child, while my parents seemed surprised. Important, my husband also claimed that, due of some horrible judgment in lovers in the past, these phrases were all my idea and I'm so proud of using their words against them, haha. I was distrustful and controlling and wanted to check his phone and whatnot to guarantee he wasn't cheating on me. This made it absolutely necessary that nothing of this strategy was ever documented. He would go over to their house to discuss any topic related to my sister coming down the aisle before me. And so started the months of lies in which my husband and I were milking my parents and sister, while they thought they were fooling me. How can this be achieved? Of course, my parents wanted input in everything. Not pay for the wedding and lay quiet. My husband would persuade me to let go of some things that meant a lot to me, like the music and color palette, so keeping me in line. But everything else was fair game. We never really cared for the ceremony to start with. We would visit, say, to review the drink and menu selections. We would then accept the lowest or second lowest price choice. Then my husband would surreptitiously bring my sister there to also try it, then sigh and remark, "It's a pity we don't want to abuse my parents' goodwill, so we wouldn't get the best option." Cue my sister insisting my parents pay for the best. After that, my parents paid for the most costly and would reassure me not to worry. Same was done with the flowers and photographer. My husband unhappily told my sister that I wanted some other tasteless flowers after handing her a bouquet of the ones we wanted. Cue my parents informing me they would pay for such flowers and wanted us to accompany them. About the wedding dress, we run across a small hitch. Though it wasn't my style and wouldn't look well on me, my parents wanted me to wear an awful dress. Okay, not overtly hideous. Our idea was to say okay and then not use it, but my mom messaged me about it so there would be evidence I said okay. We had to follow me steadfastly and in text rejecting. Going over there, my husband stated he would see what he could do. My sister advised destroying my intended dress so I would have to wear the other one. He answered as though he agreed. They truly kept communications outside any text throughout all of this. We made sure that happened by having me respond anytime my sister tried messaging my husband. They believed that and never risked anything in writing since this confirmed the I'm controlling and neurotic allegations my spouse was making. Though I'm such a doormat that the idea of being represented as controlling and dangerous is rather humorous to me, maybe some individuals might not appreciate the idea of their partner going around and talking poorly of them to family. I encouraged him on to do it. I suppose I have a distorted sense of humor, laughing here. Oh, and my sister did try to flirt with him, but he responded conflictedly also to truly sell that he was with them. Though he never told them we hired security, my husband would act to tell them information without my knowing. That was really humorous. Having really thought about a courthouse wedding to save money for our honeymoon, my husband and I ended up having an ostentatious, costly wedding and hardly spent $1. From my parents, we dubbed it back pay for emotional damages, LOL. I believe my husband. Okay, he just acknowledged I'm right, was more enjoying the whole deceiving them than he did organizing our wedding, LEL. Here we are, not as though I would have imagined it imaginable to see a man grinning at the idea of squandering his whole Saturday driving to talk wedding preparations with his in-laws. Not too far off was the day. My parents, sister and husband had devised a strategy whereby one waits until everyone is seated. The bride always arrives late, hence they would have my sister arrive at that exact moment to avoid me seeing her and trying to stop it, and she would walk down the aisle. It would be too late to act by the time I found out. Regarding my dress, we preserved some of the extra fabric from my dress changes. My husband brought that to my parents' house, my sister still resides with them even now, and presented it as evidence he had destroyed the garment. Then he stated he had to get back to me as I was fuming and he had to cool me down. She would see them at the wedding. Initially, we made sure to keep our actual security under wraps. All the visitors and my parents could see as they came was a woman with a name list to cross-reference. We brought out security, a man looking like a bodyguard, only once my parents came and sat down. We advised him not to let anyone, especially my sister, in, and even agreed on a nice tip should he fail to disclose our scheme. Not too long later the time arrived. My dad went and encouraged people to start since my parents received a text saying my sister was less than 5 minutes away. Originally instructed to follow his direction, my bridesmaids obeyed without consulting me. My dad waited at the door as though waiting for me after everyone descended and replaced each other. One buddy not in the wedding party texted me throughout this to get ready. This was because people would notice if my spouse or bridesmaids, etc., pulled out a phone and started texting. This friend was in on the plot. She's my husband's friend, and she didn't care about being a bridesmaid or anything. She was ready to assist stir drama as he is. The bridal song started playing as soon as my dad settled in. The doors opened and I followed in. At me being there, my dad became pale. He tried peering behind me, but he couldn't see the venue entrance from where we were, so he was unable to ascertain what happened to my sister. His phone then started to ring. Her was the caller ID I noticed. He merely left me there, whispered. Something came up. Around there were gasps and uncertainty. The buddy in on it inquired loudly what had happened. Lying, I said, in a sad voice, he told me it wasn't supposed to be me there. Although he said nothing, my husband and I decided that I should tell him to appear the worst possible should he dare leave me. Regarding the tears, I wish I could claim it was only my great acting, but no. Despite all, a part of me didn't think he would go as far as to abandon me there. Though only a clever joke, I felt the sister thing was untrue. Unknown. I was hurt, still am, so I was truly trying not to cry. Then the friend yelled, "What did he mean by it shouldn't be you?" So that as many people as possible might hear and disseminate it. I will go and check, she remarked quickly and hurried off. We decided to do this so she might create hell with the security and block my dad from returning to halt the ceremony or whatever. My mother also departed eventually. My husband's dad hurried over at this point and grabbed my arm. He had been informed he might have to. I started to smile seeing him sprint to me. Walking down the aisle to whispers, I listened to people talk about what transpired. Some presumably left to also check. Still, all was good when I got to my hubby. Joking that my depressed expression was so real I deserved an Oscar and not to worry, He would sweep them over the coals for what they did, lol, and help me feel better. We tied the knot without incident. My parents did not return. During the celebration, I did observe a lot of individuals leaving and then returning. None of them ventured to tell me what was happening. My husband left after someone came to speak in his ear. After some while, he returned with a stormy look but whispered in my ear that he had to hide somewhere before he broke character and started laughing, lol. What happened is it went right. From friends, relatives, the security guard and my spouse, the following is the combined story I got later. My sister did show up wearing a bridal dress. By our arrangement, the security turned her away. Since there was already a bride, he said she should be in the incorrect place. Indeed, we gave him quite good tips as promised. Claiming he never known him, thus he couldn't be working there, my dad went there and attempted threatening him with the police. The security agreed to the police as he was engaged by us and performing his duties. By then my dad knew it would be too late and tried to insist he let my sister inside. By now the friend arrived, began yelling and disparaging my sister and asked what was going on, basically stalling. Shortly later, my mother arrived. Later on others too. The wedding scheme was bust at this time. Now all my parents could do was damage control since everyone who knew about it would attempt and pull it, yelling and berating them. The three naturally said it wasn't a secret and threw my spouse under the bus. My hubby called at this point. He presented his finest confused and denigrated appearance when he arrived and denied. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, lol says, quoting him. He claimed never to have agreed to anything so ludicrous. He sought evidence when they insisted he did and naturally they couldn't find any. Every SMS exchange they produced focused on typical wedding decisions. Apparently sitting on the floor thrashing her legs like a toddler, my sister was scream crying. Though security and other people held him back, my dad seemed like he would have beat my husband. They said, of course, they lacked evidence as my husband advised them against texting. Laughing, my spouse remarked, "Wow, how convenient, huh?" Then he reiterated, why would he ever agree to something so absurd? He tore them a fresh one about being terrible parents, then turned back to me saying he wouldn't let their dumb ideas and lying ruin his wedding. Nobody thought they true. Although the location has cameras, they refused to show me the tape since that was just for security needs. Some others, though, recorded portions of it. It was amazing to see everyone who came out to watch the drama break apart my parents and sister. One of the finest wedding presents was seeing them have taste of their own medicine after years of being accused of things and not believed. While my sister was still on the floor screaming and wailing, my mother was crying and my dad was switching from purple to white. People were questioning, why would my husband agree? They insisted my spouse was in on it. Why was there no evidence? Why would they want my sister to act in this way with my wedding? To any of it, they had no decent response. They had no choice but to leave when they were eventually instructed to. Apparently, my dad had to drag my sister up since she wouldn't leave the floor. Once more, folks said nothing to me all night. I suppose they wanted to spare me, maybe because I was the bride and not just a guest for once, but it did felt like everyone was especially trying to be friendly, upbeat about everything. LOL, my hubby believes all the pricey food they were consuming really helped. We had a fun. For only a few period, my spouse kept the feigned angry expression before flushing and smiles once more. We then visited the hotel to catch some sleep before starting our honeymoon. Speaking of which, we rejected since my parents tried to pay for our aircraft tickets but we felt that was dangerous as they could attempt and cancel them or something. Of course, the three have tried to get in touch with me throughout that entire process. I turned away calls as my husband insisted on maintaining a paper trail. Smart thing, since my sister messaged me finally. She blamed me for her humiliation. Called my husband a two-faced snake that misled her for months. She wants to print and put that on our wall, LOL. And hoped, but was also sure, that I would be cheated on by him. It was quite unhinged and lacked much sense. She also implied he was cheating on me with her. My husband actually grabbed my phone, screenshot the call records, screenshot my sister's message, screenshot some messages from my parents asking I pick up the phone, and shared all of it to my family group chat. He continued up the deluded I never agreed to anything act and even threatened to sue them for slander and harassment, while sending screenshots of messages to him whereby they called him names and threatened him. As I was being tormented by them continuously, he sent a note pleading my family for help on said group chat. Then finished neatly with a demand that they not share our locations to avoid my parents sending my sister over and claiming he had somehow agreed to pretend to her in our honeymoon suite, then begged family to help stop them from trying to ruin my honeymoon now that they had failed to ruin my wedding. My family reassured him they would take care of it. Since then, we have had quiet. My sister's non-compliance disappointed my husband, who then tore her a new one and told another about it. We'll find out if it holds true. All in all, even if I would definitely like a normal, loving family at my wedding, at least once in my life, they not only failed to damage something significant to me but also helped me to get it back. Extra information. Why do they treat me like this? I suppose you all will think the same, as I've asked this question quite a lot. I still ponder this. I have wondered this all my life. I tried asking when I was little, but they denied any difference and chastised me for acting spoiled, so I gave up. Though I have various ideas, based on what I have seen, I believe it to be this. I was not supposed to be. After so long, they were wanted not just but also like a miraculous child, as they took some time to have my sister. Given our age gap is really little, I believe they didn't use enough protection much too soon after my sister's birth, or expected to have a child so quickly or easily. Perhaps they were stuck with an unplanned kid while still adjusting to a newborn, since they didn't know my mom was pregnant until it was too late. They disliked me since they are not very wealthy, and the additional cost probably did not help. That is only my speculation though. Still, I have acknowledged the response won't really matter. Whichever they did to me, it was unnecessary. Actually, did they believe this would work? After our conversation, my husband and I developed the opinion that they absolutely never wanted to do this at all. They presented my spouse that ridiculous suggestion. We believe my sister pitched a fit over my being married first when she hardly gets dates. They didn't want to pay for my wedding and didn't think we would accept, or that it would even look good for them to do, but by suggesting it and being turned down, they could look like the kind guys to my sister while having a justification not to pay $1. My husband then agreed though, and they couldn't undo or else run the danger of my sister turning on them. I lied about my baby daddy. Now he knows I'm pregnant and wants answers. Should I reveal the truth or continue my plan to raise the baby alone? I, 26F, grew up in the Midwest but went to college in California. There I met and dated Jeff, 26M, for our final 2 years of undergraduate. After graduation I stayed in California to get my master's degree while Jeff entered the workforce. We were happy together and we planned to get married after I got my master's. After I finished my schooling, Jeff got cold feet about getting married and eventually becoming a father. Abandonment issues from his bio dad leaving. So he broke up with me. Heartbroken feels like it would barely scratch the surface on how I felt. I had a great job in California, so I stayed in hopes that Jeff would come to his senses and we'd get back together. We never did. He met Grace, 25F, and started dating her about 5 months after we broke up. I started planning on moving back to my home state once I realized it was actually over. Then he and Grace broke up at the beginning of this year. Jeff and I ended up sleeping together a few times while they were broken up. It was a very public breakup, no cheating involved. About a week after the last time we had sex, he told me that he and Grace were getting back together. He said he couldn't remain friends with me because he still had feelings for me and he had to let them fade to be fair to Grace. His final words to me were to not call him unless I was literally dying and just wanting to say goodbye. I left California behind 3 weeks later. 2 weeks after I had returned home, I found out that I was pregnant. It's Jeff's. I wasn't going to be that girl that uses a pregnancy to get a man back, so I deleted all my social media accounts and made new ones that don't have my name attached to them. The only Cali people I added were trusted friends who I knew either had no connection to Jeff or who were loyal to me and wouldn't tell him my new accounts. Early in my pregnancy I made the mistake of checking out Jeff and Grace's respective profiles and saw that they refer to each other as LOML, and Jeff even had a picture of them captioned saying he was gonna marry that girl. That broke me all over again, and I have since blocked them both and decided I had to move on with my life. I'm now 6.5 months pregnant. Since moving back I have bought my own house in my home state and have been busy building a nursery for my baby. I already love this little baby in my belly and I feel 100% confident that I can raise and provide for him on my own with minor help from my family. One of my best friends back in California was having an engagement party. I won't be able to attend the wedding as I'll be busy with a newborn when it happens, so I decided to fly out to see my friends and offer my congratulations to the couple before my life becomes baby-centric. I got into town on Thursday, and honestly had a blast seeing all my friends yesterday, even though it's only been about 6 months since I last saw them. They were all respectful of my wishes not to take pictures of me below the chest. They did post some pictures of me online, but from the angles it just looks like I gained some weight in my face. Nothing that would give away my pregnancy. It's a couple days before my flight back home and the friend that I'm staying with suggested we go to the store because she wanted to get a scrapbook for our engaged friend. So we went to the store, and as we were getting ready to leave I saw Jeff's cousin Tanya, 22-ish, F, walk in. I talked to her several times at Jeff's family gatherings over the years, but we never really got along. She was always a bit too gossipy for me to like her. So of course she was the last person I wanted to see. The first thing she did was loudly announce that I was pregnant, as if everyone in the store couldn't tell just by looking at me. Then she starts grilling me, asking if Jeff knows. I said no, and that he doesn't need to know as it's not his. That was a lie, obviously, but I didn't want to open a can of worms. Tanya then tells me with how big my belly is that I'm far along and asks how I could move on so quickly. I told her that Jeff and I broke up a long time ago. She responded saying that everyone knows we were still hooking up at the beginning of this year. I did not know that was common knowledge. I figured Jeff would have kept his mouth shut about that. Anyway, I lied and told her that I already had a new boyfriend and that I was 5 months pregnant. She seemed to accept that and awkwardly congratulated me. My friend and I paid for her stuff and left immediately after that. I prayed that would be the end of it. Like I said, Tanya is a gossip, so of course she went and ran her mouth about seeing me pregnant just a few hours later. Now a bunch of my friends have messaged me saying that Jeff is blowing up their inboxes trying to reach me. None of them have told him my new number or social media, so he has no way of reaching me himself. My flight back home isn't for another 2 days and I'm freaking out. Some of my friends are saying that I should just tell him the truth now that he knows I'm pregnant. I still say I can get by pretending it's someone else's and that I'm not far enough along for it to be his. I honestly just want to ignore him and go back home. However, I'm having some doubts that that's the right choice and there isn't a consensus on what to do, so I'm turning to internet strangers. TLDR. I got pregnant by my ex. Moved away, planning to raise the child myself. His cousin saw me and told him I'm pregnant. Now he's trying to get a hold of me and I just want to go home and ignore him. Should I tell him the truth or just go home? Update 1. Hi everyone. So the consensus on my post was to tell Jeff about the baby being his. Even from just the first few comments that seemed clear. We did end up meeting up. It wasn't particularly interesting or dramatic, but if anyone cares, here's what happened. He got a hold of the friend I was staying with on Instagram. I wanted to just talk to him on the phone, but he insisted we talk in person ASAP. In retrospect, I should have just waited until the next day, but I kind of just wanted to get it over with, and it seemed like he did too. TBH, I thought he was going to tell me that he wanted nothing to do with the kid, because I didn't see any other reason why he wanted to talk in person right that second. Keep in mind it was almost 10 at night at the time. So my friend and I went to his parents' house where he was waiting. His parents always treated me like family, so I guess I felt comfortable being there, even though we probably should have met at a neutral location. When we got there, Jeff's mom answered the door. She hugged me and I could tell she wanted to touch my stomach, but she restrained herself and didn't even ask, thankfully. I always liked her. We made awkward small talk as she led me to the living room. It was clear that they had just had a party, as it was still messy with a bunch of drinking cups lying around and confetti on the floor. On the couch was Jeff and Grace holding each other's hands. I was surprised that I honestly felt nothing for him at first. His stepdad offered me a seat, but I chose to stand. I wasn't planning on being there long anyway. Jeff started off saying that I might be able to fool Tanya, but he knows there's no way I would have ever met a new guy and gotten pregnant that fast. So he asked why I didn't tell him. I told him the truth, that the last time we spoke he told me not to contact him unless I was literally dying. And I'm not dying. He told me that he was trying to be respectful to Grace and that obviously this would have been an exception. Grace chimed in to tell me that I ruined her proposal. I found out later, third-hand info, but knowing Tanya I believe it, that the party at his parents' house was for him to propose to Grace in front of all their friends and families. Tanya waited until after the proposal, and when people were giving speeches, she told Jeff she was so glad he got away from me and wasn't going to be stuck raising my baby. Then all hell broke loose at the party apparently. I had no idea that happened at the time, or I honestly would not have went to see him at all. But hearing that he proposed was when it hurt. He broke up with me because he was scared of marriage and kids, but he dated her not even half as long as we did and she got a ring. I put on a brave face. Or at least I think I did. And acted like it didn't bother me, but it absolutely did. His mom told Grace that it's not my fault and now wasn't the time for that. Then Jeff told me that, obviously I can't move now. I told him that I already did, and I was only in California for the weekend. He countered saying that I have to move back. I told him no, I'm not doing that. He said, well, I can't just leave. At that point I got frustrated and told him that I left months ago. My job is in my home state. I bought a house. All my doctor's appointments have been there. I established residency there a long time ago. California isn't my home anymore and hasn't been for half a year now. So then he got frustrated and got up to approach me asking if he's just supposed to send a paycheck once a month and saying this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. I don't really know what he meant by that second part cause he just found out I was pregnant a few hours before, but I assumed he was taking about his life plans. I forced myself to calm down and try to be empathetic. I told him that if he was worried about this screwing up his plans for the future that he had nothing to worry about. I don't want or need anything from him. I've planned everything out from finances to childcare when I return to work to even setting up my baby's college fund. It's all taken care of already. He didn't really say anything. I didn't know if he was thinking or just relieved that I had it all handled. I told him he can still get married to Grace and have his own family someday. I promised I wouldn't bother or blame him for anything. My baby will be loved and cared for. Jeff got teary-eyed and told me that I know how he feels about this. He was referring to when he broke up with me and said that he didn't want to be a dad because he didn't think he'd be a good one. He also has abandonment issues from his bio dad walking out on him, his siblings, and his mom when he was 6. I told Jeff that he's not him. His bio dad. That he's better than him and always will be. His mom started crying at this point, I guess from seeing how his dad's abandonment still affects him to this day. I promised Jeff that I wouldn't let my baby think that Jeff was a deadbeat. I'd be honest that we just weren't meant to be together, and we live thousands of miles apart. He told me that he can't just not be in his kid's life and that I don't understand what it could do to them. He asked if we could please just figure something out together. I asked him what he realistically expected would be a solution. Because I'm not moving back to California, and I highly doubt he and Grace wanted to pack their bags and move that far away from their own families and friends. I said, I'm not going to be sending my kid on a plane every few months either because that's too much. Jeff didn't say anything to that, so I told him maybe that could be an option when he's older and has more independence, but right now it's not happening. Jeff's eyes lit up and he asked, "It's a boy?" I'd been careful not to reveal the gender up until then, but I messed up there. I nodded and he nervously asked if he could feel the baby. Before I could even respond, Grace let out this loud wail and stormed off to the kitchen. Jeff apologized to me and then went to go comfort her. His mom excused herself as well as she was still crying. So she left and her husband followed her. That left me and my friend awkwardly standing alone in the living room. All we hear is his mom sniffling in the hallway and Grace sobbing while talking to Jeff in the kitchen. It was so incredibly uncomfortable. And I know many will hate me for this, but I just felt overwhelmed by the whole thing. Maybe it makes me pathetic, but having to stand in the room where a party was just held to celebrate Jeff proposing to another woman hurts so damn bad. So I left. I told my friend let's get the hell out of here and we quietly walked out. We ended up staying in a hotel and I was able to get an earlier flight home on Sunday. Now I'm back home and putting my focus back on the nursery. I told my friends that I had talked to Jeff and I apologized if he still tried to reach me through them. I advised them to block him if it's too much. I know this isn't the end of things. I'm planning on reaching out to him again eventually. Even if he broke my heart, I still care about him, and I won't deny him a relationship with his kid if that's what he really wants. I have no idea how it's gonna work and I'm only allowed to update once, so I apologize that I won't be able to tell anyone who cares how it all turns out. Thank you for the advice on my last post. Even though everyone was downvoting me and the post itself, it was nice to get opinions without bias. Update 2. First, I've seen a lot of comments saying that Jeff proposed to Grace within a few months after they started dating. That's not true. Aside from the 1-month breakup where Jeff and I conceived the baby, they were together roughly a year and a half before the engagement, assuming they had no more breakups after. IDK their full history, nor do I care to. Second, I feel like people were being a bit harsh on Jeff. I can honestly say he is not an abusive or controlling person. The man never so much as raised his voice at me in the 4 years we dated. He was a bit overbearing by demanding that I had to stay in California because that's where he is, but he just found out about the baby and was panicking that I'd disappear and he wouldn't be able to contact me. Which, to be fair, that's exactly what I did, so I get it. I had a million thoughts, some wildly ridiculous when I think about it now, running through my own head when I found out too. Third, he wasn't juggling Grace and I at the same time like people think. She broke up with him. They both thought for good at the time. He and I started having sex again, but it wasn't like we were in a sequel of the lovey-dovey honeymoon phase. It was a weird and confusing time. We weren't talking about getting back together. I already had a start date for my new job back home and my move was scheduled. He didn't know any of that. I was still in love with him, of course, and I hoped he'd tell me he wanted to get back together and I would have stayed. But he didn't. Finding out he was getting back with Grace hurt, but I can't say I felt used for sex. I don't think either of us knew what the hell we were doing by sleeping together again in the first place. Jeff is a simple man overall. I promise he's not some supervillain taking advantage of women and playing with their emotions. I'm not making excuses for him. I wish it were that easy to say that he's a dirtbag, and you should give me all your sympathy. In reality, I know who Jeff is as a person. Anyone who read my posts knows him as just a collection of bad and/or questionable choices he made. If you summarize anyone up to just the bad shit they've done, of course they'd come off as an unlikable person. Jeff's not evil or manipulative. He's just got some stuff he probably should have worked through years ago, and admittedly, I never thought his issues were that prevalent until we broke up. Plus, I'm positive that Grace knew we slept together while they were broken up. There's no way that was a shock to her. He would have told her himself, and even if he somehow hadn't, if Tanya knew, then everyone else knew shortly after. Guaranteed. Lastly, I appreciate everyone concerned about any custody issues that may arise from this. I was also amused by the people who were hyping themselves up thinking that I was delusional and actually going to be forced to put my baby on a plane by court order. I'm not sure why so many people on Reddit are used to dysfunctional relationships where judges and a huge custody battle need to be involved, but that's not us. Jeff and I were together, and very much in love for years. It might be hard to picture that when you've only read about the shitty end of our relationship, but everything before the breakup was an ideal relationship, which is exactly why it hurt me so much when he ended it. Things are weird now, but we don't hate each other. Our default option, even in a complicated situation like this, is not, we're taking this to court. That would be the last resort. I'm sure we'll work it out between ourselves long before it ever gets there. So on to the actual update. I planned on contacting Jeff after a couple weeks. I wanted to take time to gather my own thoughts and figure out what I wanted to say. Instead, I got phone calls from his number about a week after I returned home. He left a voicemail asking me to call him so we could talk. I was honestly furious because there's no way he should have been able to find my number unless somebody told him. It might not seem like it's a big deal, but to me I saw it as somebody who betrayed my trust in them. I texted him asking how he got my number. He said it wasn't important and that he wanted to talk. I said it is important to me, but he still didn't want to tell me. I told him we can talk when he tells me who he got my number from. So finally he told me who it was, and sent a screenshot of the conversation when I asked for proof. It was the second least likely friend I would have expected to break my trust. That's a whole other story though. So we talked over FaceTime and he told me that he absolutely wants to be in our son's life. He doesn't know how it's going to work long term, and neither do I. There was no threat of lawyers or his mom shouting grandparents' rights in the background like people were expecting. We're adults and we'll figure it out. The situation is not any easier to handle logistically, but emotions from that night have died down and we have clearer heads to move forward with. He did, however, have the audacity to tell me that he hates that I didn't tell him much sooner, and that I wasn't planning to tell him at all until Tanya found out, because he thought we meant more to each other than that. I told him I thought we did, until he told me not to contact him unless I was dying. That shut him up quickly because he knows now that it was an extreme and unnecessary thing to say even if he wanted to cut contact with me. He apologized for it and I apologized for not telling him about the baby myself. That's all we can really do. We're about to co-parent a child together so we don't get the luxury of holding a grudge with one another over past slights. He also told me that he and Grace are no longer together. He claims that it was a mutual decision, but that sounds too easy to me. How do you go from newly engaged to broken up in 18 hours with it being a completely clean process? I'm guessing he's just sparing me the ugly details on what must have actually happened. I do feel bad for Grace. Other than incorrectly assigning blame for her ruined engagement party, she didn't do anything wrong. I don't know her personally, but her proposal night should have been one of the best nights of her life, and it was ruined. I wouldn't want that for any woman. And because I know what everyone is gonna say, no, I am not seeing this as an opportunity to get back together with Jeff. Honestly, my focus is on my son right now. I'm not thinking about jumping into a relationship with anyone, much less the man who broke my heart once already. I think Jeff and I need to figure out how we're gonna co-parent first and foremost. And TBH, I want a man who loves me and chooses me for the person that I am, not because I happen to have given birth to his child. Plus, I don't know that I could ever get over that he proposed to Grace over me. Even if they broke off their engagement, I still want to know why she got a ring and I didn't. And I am going to ask eventually, but I don't think any answer will ever make it okay to me. A lot of people said it wasn't that he didn't want marriage, he just didn't want it with me. I find that hard to believe because, as I said above, we really had an ideal relationship. Our breakup wasn't a buildup of issues. It really was as simple as, you want marriage and kids, I don't. Which I think most would agree is just the natural end of a relationship. If it really is as simple as I just wasn't the one, then I want him to look me in the eyes and tell me that himself. Jeff is a terrible liar even when he's lying for a good reason like a special surprise. He fidgets his fingers and can't maintain eye contact when he's lying. So if he looks me in the eyes and tells me his reason for why he chose to marry her and not me, I'll know if he's being honest. Jeff also told me that his mom wanted to send me stuff for the baby, so he asked for my address. I declined. I'm positive that there are no nefarious reasons and she's just excited and wants to help. This will be her first grandchild. However, I still felt a little uncomfortable giving them my home address. He's been texting me every day and calls me every night to say goodnight. Sometimes he wants to talk to the baby. It's a bit confusing for me because he broke up with me because he didn't want a kid. But now he wants to be involved to the point where he's going out of his way to contact me and ask if I need anything. It's strange, and I don't really understand how his brain works, but like I said in my last post, I won't deny him a relationship with his kid if he wants one. Jeff wants to visit me in person to talk properly, but I told him I'm not sure if that's necessary right now. He asked to come last weekend and I said no. Then he asked again about possibly coming this weekend, but I told him I can't, because I'm having my baby shower on Saturday. He wants to come. I'm not sure if that's a great idea. I'm not worried that he would say or do anything bad and we're getting along over text VC. I can tell that he just wants to be involved, but part of me feels like it's sort of IDK, playing house almost? I guess it wouldn't be a big deal if I made it clear he would be here as a friend and the father of the baby, but not as anything more. My parents don't think it's a good idea, but I know that's just because they don't like Jeff, ever since he broke up with me. My sister, who is more level-headed, says that it could be a show of good faith that I'm serious about having a healthy co-parenting relationship, and it'll probably be easier to build that foundation now before the baby comes. My brothers don't care either way, but they say they're ready to beat up Jeff if he does or says anything stupid. He won't, but I love my brothers for always looking out for me. I'm not sure what I'm going to decide, but I know Jeff needs an answer soon so he can book a flight and a hotel room if I do say yes. I'm open to suggestions. Update 3. Hi everyone. I've been requested to give an update on the baby shower and whether or not I let Jeff attend. This post is rather lengthy as it covers a whole weekend, so I'm including a TLDR at the bottom. So I did end up allowing Jeff to come to my baby shower. When he called me the Monday night before my Saturday baby shower, I brought it up. I told him he could come if he agreed to 3 rules. We are not together. Don't touch me, hug me, or put your hands on my stomach unless I say it's okay. I agreed that we needed to have a serious talk. However, it only takes place after the baby shower. I'd see if there's an awkward vibe because we have things we want to get out. We ignore it until after the baby shower. You stay in a hotel. I wasn't housing anyone. I needed my home to be my own place to return to if things got too overwhelming. Unsurprisingly, he was fine with all of those conditions and was just happy that he could come. I also told him he was free to invite his mother if she wanted to attend. He was relieved because she did mention wanting to come with him if he came. Everything was settled until the next day when he called to ask me if his brother and sister could come too. His stepdad had a prior commitment and wouldn't be able to attend. I shouldn't have been surprised Jeff asked about his siblings though. His family is really close-knit. They show up for each other and everything. I've never had any issues with anyone in his family. I always got along with his parents and siblings, especially his sister. I said it was fine. I didn't really care as long as they understood that I was the guest of honor at my baby shower and not a hostess, so I wouldn't be checking in with them the entire time. His sister also messaged me privately to ask if I was really okay with them all coming and that she and their younger brother could stay home if I didn't want them all there. It was totally unnecessary because I already said yes, but I really appreciated that she did that. Their flight got in on Friday afternoon. My parents decided to host a dinner for Jeff's family. They don't like Jeff anymore, but they felt that since he and I are now tied together for the next 18 years minimum, our families should be acquainted at least. When they got to my parents' house, the greetings were as awkward as expected. Jeff leaned down to my stomach and said hi to the baby. The baby kicked, and when I told Jeff, he got excited, so I offered to let him feel. I figured he should be able to have that moment. His mom was ecstatic that the baby was kicking, saying that he already knows his daddy's voice. She was so happy that I didn't have the heart to tell her that the baby had already been kicking for the past half hour before they got there. Dinner was fine. It was mostly talking about the baby shower. But we did also go around the table and everyone suggested names. I have to admit I'm a bit bummed about the naming. I was happy that I had sole decision power when it was just me, but now I have to get Jeff's approval too, which sucks. Some of the names he suggested were awful tbh. The day of the baby shower was long, but it went perfectly. Luckily Tanya was over 2k miles away, so she couldn't ruin the event. It was relatively big as my family has always done co-ed baby showers. We even had some games specifically for the men in attendance. I felt a little bit bad about Jeff just being a guest, so we tried to include him last minute by letting him give the guys the rules for the bottle chugging game. It was tea, not beer of course. And we added a last-minute best dad joke competition that he got to decide the winner on. We also took some pictures together. As I said in my last post, I didn't want to play house with him, but honestly I was having such a great time that I didn't even mind that both sides of the family suggested pictures. More importantly, he asked for my consent before putting his arm around me and touching my stomach for the pictures, which was such a relief that he was respecting the boundaries I gave him before he came. After the baby shower ended, I invited Jeff's family to my house. I mentioned not wanting to give my address to him in my last post. Some people misunderstood that as me trying to stay hidden forever. Obviously he was going to know my address once the baby came. I think what those people failed to realize is that it was all happening so fast. Jeff got my number one day and the next day he was asking for my address on his mom's behalf to send baby stuff. It was a lot and far too soon. But since everything was going great, I didn't mind so much inviting them to see my house. His mom cried when she saw the nursery. Then I started crying with her cause I'm a hormonal mess some days. The nursery is basically finished. I had just bought a different shade of blue paint because I didn't like the one I initially chose after looking at it for a couple weeks. I was planning on it being repainted the next week, but Jeff and his brother offered to do it while they were there. I said no obviously because they were guests. My dad chimed in to say to let him, Jeff, do it, because it's about time he stepped up to help. Obviously my dad knows that Jeff just found out about the baby recently, and I reminded him of that. But my parents were the ones who comforted me every time I cried when I first moved back home and again when I found out I was pregnant. It's gonna take a while for them to warm up to Jeff again. So Jeff and his brother painted the first coat with my dad while I talked to Jeff's sister outside. I asked her about Grace, but she wouldn't tell me what happened. She told me that it was a conversation between me and Jeff. She did tell me that her whole family tried to talk Jeff out of proposing because it was too fast, but he insisted so they supported him. The only other thing she said was that Tanya has been banned from her family's events for the foreseeable future, and their families aren't on good terms as Tanya's parents don't think what she did was a big deal. After the guys finished painting, everyone except my sister and Jeff left. Jeff and I decided to talk that night. My sister was in the living room in case it didn't go well and I needed emotional support after Jeff left. He and I talked in my bedroom. My feet were killing me and I needed to lie down. So I did that and Jeff sat on the other end of the bed. Neither of us knew how to start, so I just asked him point blank why he changed his mind about kids. I reminded him that he broke up with me because he didn't want marriage or kids. He said that it's true that he didn't want kids and that he's still afraid he'll screw it up somehow, but that the baby already exists and so he already loves him and wants to be present for him. I then asked about Grace. I wanted to know why he proposed to her and not me. It's not relevant now, but I'm still human and I wanted to know what was different about her. He told me that he was never scared of marriage. He meant it when we discussed plans about marriage after I was done with school. He wanted to be married to me. It was just the kids part that he couldn't do. He says that he just added marriage into his reasoning for our breakup because he felt like it would be easier for me to accept. In his head I might have been able to overlook the kids thing at least for a few years, but he knew if he said he didn't want marriage either, then I wouldn't stay. IDK. Why he didn't just talk to me about it. Instead, he broke my heart because he thought he was setting me free. As for why he proposed to Grace, she was on the same page as him regarding children. She didn't want them. He said he talked to her about getting a vasectomy, and she was on board with his decision. He admitted that they moved too fast. She was pressuring him to propose to her and she wanted the big party, so the proposal wasn't a surprise event. Everyone knew what it was gonna be, including Grace, as she practically planned the thing herself. All of his family tried to talk him out of it and wait a bit longer, but he was afraid that he would lose another woman and didn't want to make the same mistake again. His words, not mine. I asked why they broke up because I didn't believe him that it was a clean mutual decision. He said it was mutual but a bit messy. Apparently he and Grace talked that next day after everything went down. She told him that I ran away and to just let me go. She said she was willing to reconsider kids if he realized that he changed his mind, but that she didn't want to be a stepmom to my child. She basically gave him an ultimatum. He could choose either her or the baby, but not both. He asked her for the ring back right then and there. Apparently she threw it at him along with a few other heavier objects. He says they're fully done. He tried to do the sweet talk thing, telling me that he's glad it was me and not her that got pregnant. He says I saved him from making a huge mistake in marrying her. He regrets everything and wishes that he could redo the last 2 years and never break up with me. Then he asked if I could ever see us getting back together. I got frustrated at that point, and told him that he can't just keep jumping back and forth between us. He tried to defend himself, and while I agree that I don't think he does it with ill intent, it is what he's doing. I told him that he keeps letting his fear make hasty decisions for him and he needs to work on that with a therapist. I'm about to raise a baby. I don't need to be raising a man too. He did agree to go to therapy to work on his issues. Whether he actually does it or not, I don't know. I did make it clear that he needs to go into it understanding that it's for his and our son's benefit, and not just to win me back, because that's not my focus at all right now. That was pretty much it for our talk. At some point he ended up laying down beside me so we were facing each other. There was no touching. We just talked while laying beside each other. I got sleepy and he left in an Uber back to his hotel. They were supposed to leave on Sunday, but their flight back home was delayed by a day due to the weather in California. So the next morning they all came over and Jeff and his brother finished the second coat of paint on the nursery. It came out perfectly. I'm really glad I went with the second color choice. I made the guys lunch as a thank you for their work, even though they were both happy to do it for their son and nephew. Jeff told me that he's planning on moving to my home state within the next month because he wants to be here for the baby's birth. His job does offer remote work, so he could do it without having to find a new job. As of now he says it would be temporary, but admitted that he doesn't know if he'll be able to leave once the baby is here. We'll see what happens. They left the next day while I was at work. Jeff stopped by my work to say goodbye in person. My coworkers all melted when they saw him say bye to the baby and promise him that he'd be back soon. They all think I should give him another chance for the baby's sake. Although I suspect that most of them are also easily swayed by the fact that Jeff is 6'3" and conventionally attractive, which they were constantly bringing up at my baby shower and when he came to say bye. Jeff and his family made it back home safe. I haven't heard much else about his plans to move here, but I imagine that will take a while anyway. TLDR. Jeff and his family came to my baby shower. Everything went fine. I got the answers that I wanted about why he proposed to Grace and why he changed his mind about being a dad. He's agreed to get therapy for his issues. We're moving forward with our co-parenting plan and he's likely going to be moving here, at least temporarily, when the baby is born. Comments. Just as an FYI, you still technically have sole naming power. If you don't want to exercise that right in order to keep the peace, be nice, that's up to you, but you don't have to. Honestly, it sounds like Jeff will go along with any name you like at this point just to keep you happy. I'm glad things are working out for you. Jeff's family sounds amazing. I see what you're saying, but I believe in choosing my battles. If my options are to find a name we're both happy with or risk bottled resentment from Jeff over me making a unilateral decision, because you're right, he would agree to me picking what I want just to keep the peace. I'm going with the first option. There are much more important things to hold my ground on regarding my child's future. I've seen people commenting on the surname too. Where I live, the kid almost always takes the dad's last name with few exceptions. Even my parents are expecting the baby to have Jeff's surname now that he's involved. While I wouldn't give any woman grief for wanting to pass her name on, it's not important to me. I know he's mine and that's all I need. Also, I've got 3 brothers, so the odds are extremely likely that our family name will be passed on through them anyway. I'm so happy for you. You indeed saved Jeff from marrying Grace, who seemed to be overbearing and domineering. I hope you and Jeff will co-parent peacefully. If you decide to give him a second chance, make him grovel. I bet his family are happy that Grace is gone. She sounds like a high-maintenance woman. Planning her own big engagement party after pressuring the guy to propose. Wow. Nobody said it directly, but I was definitely getting vibes that his family didn't like her very much. I don't know her personally, but she sounds a bit immature. Throwing things at someone during a breakup is just not okay. So Grace manipulated everything then. He was going to get married to the wrong person and regret it years later. I don't know if she manipulated him, but she definitely pressured him. He said that she told him she didn't want to waste her 20s on him if he wasn't serious about getting married eventually. He didn't tell me this, but I'm guessing maybe he told her about the reason for our breakup and she didn't want the same thing to happen to her, so she pressured him into proposing. Again, that's just a guess though. Oh, I have my own opinion, but girl, you are doing all very well and everything was perfect. He gave you a good explanation, and you gave him a great insight. I love what you said about how his fear was taking decisions and advice. I hope all of you find your way. Keep us informed. Yeah, his answer for every decision he made was, because I was scared of, which is just not a good way to go about anything. That's something he definitely needs to work on. My foster family of 11 years is kicking me out by the end of the week. I have nowhere to go and I feel broken. I, 18 male, Was told earlier today that I need to pack up and leave by the end of the week. I still feel in shock. I was removed from my biological family when I was 7 due to issues with my parents. I was then placed in foster care and then matched with a couple who I will call the Peters. It's not their real name. No matter how much I actually want to blast their real info, I won't. The Peters were always really nice to me, and since I moved in when I was pretty young, after a while I started to consider them my parents. I called them Mom and Dad, treated them as my parents, treated their biological son as my brother. I wasn't their only foster child. They also have a 9-year-old boy who has lived with us for a little over a year. I was never adopted by them. I know why, because they live off the fostering allowance. Something that never really bothered me. They told me that it didn't matter, and that legality didn't make us a family. Which I believed. I went on their agency website earlier today and I found out that they are getting paid at least $2,400 for me per month. Or at least they were. Since I turned 18, they stopped getting the allowance. However, they applied for a staying put arrangement for me, which meant they would continue getting paid something as they continue to support me and let me live with them. It wasn't as much. I think it was like $1,000 per month. They told me they had it approved until I was 21, so I thought I'd be able to stay at least until I finished uni. They sat me down today and told me I had to leave. They told me that fostering is a business and that they couldn't afford to keep me on just the stay put arrangement allowance. They told me I had until the end of the week. 4 days. How generous of them. They said they need my room because they want to get a new foster placement. They literally told me it's not personal. Like that makes me feel any fucking better. They said they would still consider me like a son, not their son anymore. Like a son, and that they want to keep in touch. What a joke. They choose to kick me out. An 18-year-old with no job, no income, no nothing. About to start university. Yet their bio son who is 25 gets to stay? So yeah. I guess fuck me, right? I'm just the one no one ever wanted. I guess I wasn't ever truly part of their family. Relevant comments. Accomplished Emu 591. I am sorry for your situation. However, you should contact the agency that was paying them, tell them what they did, and ask for referrals to other organizations that can provide you assistance with finding employment and attending uni. It is even possible that your report of their behavior would make them ineligible for further paid foster placement. Not likely, but possible. No address 1159 responding to Accomplish EMU 591. Calling your former social worker is 100% a great idea, OP. Or going to Citizens Advice. There is plenty of support available to former foster children and they will help you find what you're eligible for. The part about reporting them, sadly there wouldn't be anything legally wrong or against any fostering practices for what they're doing. As long as they don't continue to claim on the staying put order, that is. In England, fostering is generally treated more as a business than as something you do for love, as it is in the US. Which has its upsides and its downsides. Morally though, the Peters are despicable people in my opinion. Jen in Miami. I'm so sorry. If it makes you feel any better, many parents kick their biological kids out once they turn 18 too. OP. Answer. It doesn't really, if I'm honest. Mouse and Ladybug. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. These are garbage people. I'd be reporting them for fraud. They can't accept money to have you stay there if you aren't. OP. Answer. They'll probably cancel the staying put arrangement altogether, so I don't think they'll continue to be paid for me after I leave. Though that is something I am 100% checking in a few weeks. Po boy from Po family. They're doing it for the money. That is why. It's unfortunate and they sound horrid. I'm sorry, OP. I hope it all works out for you. Leaving will suck, but at least you won't be surrounded by greedy leeches. OP. Answer. I thought they were my family. I'm genuinely considering going no contact with them after I'm set up whatever I'll end up doing next week. Cucky 94. You absolutely should. You were 7 when you went into their care. They denied you the opportunity to find a real family who love you for you and not the dollars you brought in. Fuck them. You deserve better. OP. Answer. I doubt anyone would have adopted me. I wasn't a great kid, in truth had more issues than a hospital piss pot. I wasn't a great kid in any sense. But I changed. Genuinely I changed. I can't help but wonder if this is because of how I was as a young child. Nene 1 through 0388. I'm so sorry this has happened to you, honey. You must be feeling awful. Do you have a care leaver's personal advisor? Not sure which area you are in. They should be supporting you to find move-on accommodation in a supported setting if needed, or support you to approach your local housing office for support. Without cause, your foster family cannot give you 4 days notice to leave. They would need to give formal notice, which is usually about 4 weeks. It would be worth calling your Children's Services Duty, VOR, out-of-hours telephone number and explaining the situation, because it will be whoever is responsible, i.e. the personal advisors team, who will be paying the staying put fees to the foster carers. So there is someone who is responsible and will need to provide immediate support to help you. Answer. Yeah, I'm meeting with him today. I'm going to tell him they've given me a verbal 4-day notice and that I need urgent help. If I'm honest, I don't want to stay here anymore. The whole dynamic has changed and none of them even look me in the eyes now. But I'm not going to make myself homeless, so I'll stay until I have accommodation, and I'm not leaving the house until I do. Bright ad 3 is 06. It is awful, but if they counted on that money to make rent, they might not have much of a choice. I wouldn't conduct myself that way, but not every foster couple is rich. Answer. They own their own home. And just some quick math for anyone interested. I don't know what package I was placed on because there's a difference allowance for each package, but according to the fostering agency website, the minimum was $2,400 for me. It goes to a maximum of $3,400 per month, but I'll estimate off the lowest. Mine obviously stopped, but it would be the same for the 9M foster placement they have now. So, $2,400 x 12 for ours, $28,800 per year. Plus my $12,000 per year from the staying put order. Gave them a nice $40,800 per year. Which they would pay little, if any, tax on, as a fostering allowance is taxed very lightly here. That may not sound like a lot to Americans with your high wages, but the average post-tax wage where I live is $23,985 per year. They had enough, I think. Mini update. Okay, thank you guys for all your advice. Honestly, I was in a state of shock yesterday. Maybe still am today. I wasn't thinking straight. I only slept 2 hours last night, that's all, so I'm probably a little delirious today as well. Firstly, I have contacted my personal advisor. He'll be having an emergency meeting with me at 1:30, so I'll have more details about what's going to happen to me then. He'll hopefully be able to sort out emergency accommodation for me. Secondly, to those of you saying the Peters can't legally just give me 4 days notice to leave, I will definitely be mentioning this to my personal assistant and get his advice on it. I don't want to stay here any longer than I need to because they told me it's like I don't exist. They just look right through me. But I'm not going to move out until I have safe accommodation for me. I will outright refuse. I am not going to be made homeless. Thirdly, those of you saying contact my uni, I have an offer from them, but it's only conditional if I get my predicted A levels. Hopefully I will, but since I'm not technically a student yet, I don't know if they will actually provide any support yet. Finally, I am also going to ensure that the staying put allowance stops. I will tell my personal assistant today that it should surely be stopped if I'm not living with them. Luckily, I have some money saved. Some people here have said I should be entitled to a bursary when I start uni, and I'll have my maintenance student loan to help me. I've already started looking for a job. Relevant comments Snaggleth00T4. Good luck. I'd cut all ties with them. They are not good people. Celebration Main, 8329. Good luck OP. I am here rooting for update 2. Okay, hi everyone, I just got home and am feeling incredibly tired, so this is just going to be a short update. Basically, I had a big long meeting with my personal assistant and he was very sympathetic and felt upset that the Peters are treating me this way. We had one meeting and then I went to get food while he spoke to the Peters directly, and then I came back to meet him again to let me know everything that has happened. He's putting me on the list for social housing. I am hopeful that it will not be long until I am able to get my own house. I recorded the meeting because I'm so sleep deprived, and also, I have really bad memory processing for long things like that because of my dyslexia. Autism or something, I'm not sure. I can listen to it again tomorrow after I've slept, but from what I gather they will help me with paying for rent costs. I will also get some money to help pay for furniture and things like that. When he spoke to the Peters, I don't know if he said they had to keep me housed for a while or asked them to. I'm not sure. But they've agreed to keep housing me until the end of August, so at least I don't have to worry about everything happening in 3 days. He did tell me that if I feel uncomfortable, I can be moved into a youth hostel place while they wait for a property to be available for me. But I said, if I can, I would rather stay with the Peters until I am ready to move. Even if it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. He told me they will continue getting paid the staying put allowance until the day I officially move out, and then it will be stopped. On a completely separate note, my best friend and I had a huge argument earlier. He said that I'm being ungrateful, and honestly what he said really hurt me. We had a huge argument. I just thought out of everyone he would get me and understand what I was going through. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. I am really tired, so maybe my emotions are just not being controlled well at the moment. I am going to talk to him tomorrow after I've slept, and I'm hoping this argument will just blow over because I need him at the moment. I don't feel like I have anyone else. Oh, and I haven't read all the comments because I didn't expect to get so many. Thank you everyone who has offered support. It is genuinely so sweet and I am so thankful. Relevant comments Gen 820. Glad things are working out. Don't worry about your friend. Right now you are in survival mode. Trying to make sure you aren't on the streets. Hope everything keeps working out for you. OP answer. He said I should be grateful that they kept me that long anyway. Like the fuck? I'm not a pet. He also said some other things like how it's good that they're going to help another child like I was. Which is true, and I get that it's a good thing what they're doing to help people. But him saying those things make me feel like I'm being crazy for wanting to stay like I was promised by them. Ugh, I'm too tired and maybe I'm being irrational. I'm going to talk again with him tomorrow and say I'm sorry. Long and unimportant rant. It never bothered me that they were paid to keep me before. Genuinely never bothered me at all. I always knew I was a foster child. I was about 15 when I learnt that they were paid money to look after me, and I told myself it was a good thing. And it probably was. I have had loving parents for 11 years, which is more than some people can say. I just didn't ever think they'd make me move out when the payment stopped being as high. I found out that when I was still a child they were paid $111.82 per day for me. That's $40,114 per year. I had never felt different to the family. I had always felt loved and secure. I don't understand why they have changed their minds about me. None of them will even look at me in the eyes anymore. And it's gotten to the point where I can't leave my room anymore because all I feel is the absence of the love that used to be there. I didn't come down for any meal times, which was a rule that you had to before. If I didn't go down before, I wouldn't have gotten any food. But Mum brought it up to my room and knocked on the door to say she was going to leave it there for me. I've used that 100 times over and over again in my head, to try and convince myself that they still love me. I called her by her first name when I came home yesterday. Not Mum, Claire. She looked upset when I did that, and a part of me is happy about that, and a part of me feels cruel for it. I knew it would hurt her and I did it anyway. In some ways I wish she wakes up to the pain she's causing me. I hope she takes it back and says that it is a lapse in judgment, and that she loves me and wants me to stay. But if that were going to come, I think it would have already. I guess I'm not worth the $76 per day they lose by not replacing me with another foster child. When I feel bad about hurting them, I remind myself they're kicking me out to get an extra $76 a day. That's what I'm worth to them. $76 per day. Relevant comments OP respond. I don't expect anyone to read this or care, but I want to say thank you for the immense love you've all shown me. I feel nothing but gratitude to you all. My in bad book. I'd like to think, at least a part of the reason for their lack of eye contact and emotional withdrawal is due to their feelings of absolute embarrassment, guilt and shame. That she seemed upset with being called her name, I feel, somewhat supports this. And they should feel this way. However, I really do hope they can put these feelings, and their egos, to the side and take steps to actively make amends and rebuild the relationship. I really am sorry this is happening, and I'm so very happy you had a secure and safe childhood. Edit. To add, I follow you and read your posts because I really want you to be okay. You didn't deserve this. No child does, no matter their struggles. I've been thinking about you and putting all the good thoughts out there for you. Emgen France, your feelings are valid and important. You are not alone. Adopted is a great group here on Reddit just for adoptees. People who understand because they've been there. You can also find groups on Facebook, and there may even be local groups in your area if you'd like to connect with people in person. You're doing amazing. Okay, I am going to try and condense this as much as possible. Basically, I, 18 male, got removed from my bio family when I was 7. I got taken into foster care and was matched with a family called the Peters. I was then raised by the Peters for the remainder of my life, from 7 all the way until now. They had originally told me that I was able to live with them indefinitely, as I considered the Peters my family. And they applied for a stay order with me, which basically means they continued to get paid something like $250 by the government to recognize that they're continuing to support a former foster child, me, after my 18th birthday. As I said before, I was always told by Peters I could stay as long as I needed to set myself up in life. Their bio son, who I considered my brother, is 25 and still lives with them. He doesn't work but graduated university 2 years ago. I have a conditional offer at a local university which I'm studying classics with aims to become a teacher. I start in October, if I get my predicted A-levels, which I think I will. But the Peters told me that I had to leave by the end of the week because they wanted to get another foster child. This is something they really sprung on me. And it's been extremely difficult for me. I had to get in contact with my social worker who spoke with the Peters, and now they're letting me stay until the end of August, but the whole family has changed. I explained all this to my best friend, and I said I was considering going no contact with them after I moved out. He ranted to me about how ungrateful I'm being to them. And how they raised me for 11 years and now they want to give that to another child in a position like I was. I get that, and that's part of the reason why I feel so guilty. My friend isn't speaking to me now, calling me selfish for wanting to stay with the Peters like I was promised. And for them trying to get rid of me with 4 days' notice. There were plans they could have taken to transition me into independent living before I turned 18, and they chose not to take part in them, because they told me I could always stay with them. The one time of my life I needed my friend, and he's gone too, and I feel so alone, and I can't understand why he's taking their side over mine. I understand the argument that they will continue to help another child, but at the same time I just wish they didn't have to throw me out to do so. When I suggested to my friend they could have asked their bio son to move out instead of me, and he just said, "I'm being selfish." I still don't even know if I am going to go no contact with them. I just said I felt like doing it, and I wish I didn't even say that because I didn't expect it to cause such an argument. So, am I the A? Relevant comments. Top reveal 847. You poor kid, your friend is an AH, and you're certainly not. Even if there is another kid waiting and desperately in need, they could have and should have at least let you plan ahead more than a few days in advance, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Are you foster parents at least helping you find a place? Edit to add that you should let someone at the university know. IDK how it's done where you are, but some universities have programs for stuff like this. Wardog 1983. You not the A. The Peters are using the fostering system to support themselves. They do not care about helping the kids. They say that to justify their callous treatment of you. They should not be foster parents. I'm sorry about your friend, his point of view is a betrayal because it is simply wrong. Scott's way. Hey. Dude, my cousin used to foster kids. She fostered 3 sisters and 1 other girl. I use the words because she adopted them as she wasn't in it for the money. OP answer. I don't really even care that they were looking after me and getting money for it. It doesn't bother me. I never knew how much they were getting to look after me, but I did know they were being paid. It does make me hurt and betrayed that they're kicking me out for a difference of 70-something pounds a day. Material, Cellist 4133. Not the A. Also, you are far from ungrateful. You were 100% grateful until they made it about money. You thought they took care of you because they were good people. Instead, they took care of you for money. It's an even exchange, nothing to be grateful about. Peters found my Reddit posts. The Peters' son, Jamie, has found my original Reddit post. I guess I should have been more careful with the details, but my mind was so frantic at the point of writing it I just couldn't think straight. I'm not sure how he found it, but considering it has almost 10k upvotes, and Jamie was the person who introduced me to Reddit, I guess it might have just popped up on his page. Does anyone know if it might have popped up to him because we're on the same network, in the same location? A few hours ago, Jaime came to my room. He showed me the original post and asked if I had written it. At first I tried to deny it, but I'm an awful liar, so he just knew. He asked why I didn't tell him about this, and I said I thought he knew. He told me he had no idea and would not have supported his parents throwing me out if he did. He was told I requested to move out. He genuinely seemed shocked and appalled at the details in the post. Against my wishes, he shared the post in the family group chat. He did this out of a place of wanting to defend me. Mom, Dad, I really think you should read this and see the impact this is having on. But I really wish he didn't do it. They've both read the message, but neither have responded. I have not left my room since. I'm really anxious right now. Like I'm at the level before a panic attack. I can feel one coming on. Relevant comments. Polly6119. Stay calm and know that you did nothing wrong. They may try to gaslight you. They may lie to your brother. They don't have a good track record for being decent people. But no matter what they do, remember you did nothing wrong. They cannot throw you out because of it. They have learned their lesson on that. I'm glad to know your brother didn't agree with their horrible decision, and I'm glad that he found out. Him not looking you in the eye these past couple of days may have had something to do with the tension already in the air and him thinking you just up and wanted to leave. I hope it turns out that they realize their mistakes and apologize profusely. But brace yourself for that not happening and that they may get upset with you for airing dirty laundry. They may end up trying to guilt you and blame everything on you. They may do nothing. Please remember, no matter what they say and no matter what your ex-best friend said, you did nothing wrong. Your feelings are valid. You deserve love. You did not deserve what they did to you. Afternoon agitated 803. Calm and breath. Sounds like he's being a big brother and sticking up for you. Because for him you're his sister and he loves you. So talk to him more, lean on him more. He's an adult, he can handle it. The moving out. The Peters could have really dealt with this in such a better way. They could have talked to you about, now that you're an adult and soon going to university, we'll go and talk to your caseworker about finding you your own place to live, and we'll be able to help another little kid just like you when you came here, but you've got to come round for Sunday dinner. Or something like that. They handled this so badly, saying yes you can stay till 21, then telling you exactly the money they receive, and then telling you to get out by the end of the week. Where did they expect you to go, FFs? Do the foster parents not work at all? Or are the children their only job? And although he's being a good brother to you right now, if he finished uni 2 years ago, why isn't he working or getting training or something? 2 years of not putting his degree to use will show those in whatever field he did the degree in that he has no work ethic at all. I've just tonight been reading through all your posts and I completely understand why you're thinking of going LC with foster parents. They've handled it really badly, and next time you see your caseworker, ask them, do foster parents not get training or anything on how to handle this situation of when a child is reaching 18? Tell the caseworker you want notes or something put on their file of how badly they have handled this, so that any future foster kids they look after, their file shows. This is what they do when the money drops down, so that a future caseworker can put the child's needs first and they don't go through what you went through. With your friend, he's being a bit of an asshole. I'm guessing by the language used he has the privilege of living with his birth parents his whole life and is in no danger of being told he has to get out in 5 days? He is not acknowledging he's in a position of privilege in this situation. I'd message him and say, these last few days have been crazy, and although you wouldn't know what it feels like to be in this position, I was just looking for a friend to listen to. It's been a stressful and upsetting few days and I don't want to fall out with you. And just suggest something you usually do together if you play a computer game or just hang out. End it with, do you want to play comp hang out tomorrow? And leave it at that and see what they say. Fairy Rebels Wild, to the Peters. From OP's posts, it sounds like you had a genuine relationship with him. Or at least he felt you did. It's good that you were able to provide a stable family life for him. Considering that you had originally told OP he could stay and you had applied for him staying put, I'm going to assume that somehow your circumstances changed. That sucks. But you handled this in the worst way possible. You should have approached OP in a collaborative manner, explaining the situation. Phrased it as not being able to support him anymore, rather than fostering being a business. Explored if him getting a job and financially contributing would have helped. Actually help him connect with his personal assistant for those transitional services and with their advice, making a realistic move-out date. Everything you did was wrong. Saying fostering as a business taints every family interaction or affection as fake and transactional. I dare say pretending to be his family is worse than if you had kept it businesslike from the beginning. Verbal 4 days notice is actually heartless. How cruel and frankly, unrealistic, especially as you knew, being the ones to have originally allowed him to stay, that he wasn't applied to the transitional services yet. You can't expect him to continue treating you as family while you treat him as a former business colleague. Again, heartless and unrealistic. I hope you learn to be more empathetic to your future foster kids, or at least, be honest to them about your intentions from the beginning. What I'm going to send in the family group chat. Is this a bad idea? To Matt and Claire. I came to you as a 7-year-old. A 7-year-old who had never felt love or affection, or anything remotely nice. I was taught at a young age to fear those in authority. To fear the sudden changes in the moods of my birth parents. I was taught to bottle up my emotions and my pain and never show it. When I first came to you, my life was ruled by fear and anxiety. I know my behaviors back then were awful, and were a struggle to manage. I had been taught there were no consequences for some actions. And firm, scary and hard consequences for others. The worst part was that those actions never seemed to be consistent. I could do something one day and be praised by my birth family, and another day I would be beaten. Love was not something given, it was something earned. It was conditional and shallow. You both showed me another way. You showed me love and affection, and at first it felt confusing and hard to comprehend. I couldn't see myself as anything more than a nuisance. I couldn't see why someone would love me. I couldn't understand why you weren't beating me. Do you remember me telling you, you can hit me if I am naughty, I won't mind. Slowly you taught me to trust and love myself, and those around me. You showed me that no matter what I did, you wouldn't give up on me. You wouldn't send me away or hate me. And I really tried to make you. I know that. I was scared. You made me realize that it wasn't my own fault I was in care, and that I wasn't to blame for the things that happened to my birth family. You showed me appropriate outlets to my fears. You showed me love, compassion, and kindness. The first day I remember feeling truly safe was when I was sitting in your arms at 8 years old watching Shrek. I still think back to that moment. It probably just felt like another day to you. But to me, it is a core memory in my life. It's a moment that shapes the way I see myself. You sat up with me when I was worried about moving up to secondary school. You comforted me when my birth mom told me she no longer wanted to be part of my life. You were there when XX broke up with me when I was 15 years old and I felt like my whole world was ending again. You encouraged me to go beyond my studies and apply to university. The most important thing you showed me was that I was worthy of being loved and respected. You never gave up on me. I am who I am today because of what you did. I look at myself and I see compassion, care, and kindness. And in those traits I see you. You weren't my birth family, but you were my family. My only family. I don't know what changed. Why has there been a switch? Why have you gone from the loving and caring parents you were? When I leave my room now, I no longer feel that love and kindness that brought me out of the pits of despair as a child. It's almost as if you have completely altered the way you see me, and I just can't understand why. A few days ago you told me I had to move out. You gave me 4 days notice to leave my family. You sent me back into feeling like that child at 7 years old. I'm not saying this to guilt you or to ask you to let me stay. That is past now, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to see you the same way again. I understand if you were hard on money or if you wanted to help another child like me. But why not talk to me? Why spring it on me and then act like I don't matter? Why tell me it's just business? Did you think that would make it hurt less? Since you told me my whole life has been turned upside down and I don't know how I will make it to the other side. If I had felt like this a few weeks ago, do you know who I would have gone to? I would have gone to you. I would have told you my worries and my fears, and you would have said the exact right thing, and then we'd sit together and watch some awful TV show. And now, I have no one again. I feel like I'm being told for the second time in my life that I don't deserve a family. And this time I have no one to pick me up off the edge. That was always you, Mom and Dad. It was always you I could rely on. Why are you giving up on me now? Relevant comments. OP respond. I really feel like today the whole thing has just hit me in the face again. I think the emotions I was feeling were being blocked, and today they've been let out and I've done nothing but cry all day. Jay loves writing. Send it to them. Let them know how you feel, how they hurt you, and that they cannot expect you to ever contact them again after you leave. They need to know how you feel. Send it to them, and if you want to, leave the GC. Because they may try to justify their actions, and you don't need to hear it. OP answer. The sad thing is I don't think I even want that. I want them to love me again. I've contacted my personal assistant, and I'm moving out today. My personal assistant is allowing me to store my things I can't take with me in his garage. It's kind of him. He's found me a place at a local hostel. I'll get my own room apparently, which was a big deciding factor on if I wanted to move in or not. The hostel works with the LA and houses a lot of care leavers, the English term for someone who has aged out of foster care, while they wait for their own houses. I haven't sent the message yet, but I know my foster brother Jamie has seen it. Yesterday I felt overwhelming emotions, today I feel none. I don't know which is better. I'll send it once I'm moved out. I have a room, so I'll be gone in a few hours. I still haven't spoken to them, but I just can't face it anymore. I am sick of being anxious and stressed about this. I guess they did get their 4-day notice after all. Edit 1. I have just left Peter's house for the last time. The room is ready for me at the hostel. I feel so weird and sad and lonely right now. I've ordered myself a pizza to have for dinner today. And my PA even paid for it. I just want to get in bed and cry. My head is spinning thinking about everything I need to do. Wish me luck, everyone. Edit 2. I want to clarify something. I was hurt and in shock when I wrote my first post, but I want to make it understood that I was never eligible to be adopted. At first the end goal for me was to reintegrate myself into my birth family. By the time we knew that was never going to happen, I wouldn't have accepted adoption as I wanted to keep my legal ties with my birth family. The Peters always told me it didn't matter that I didn't want to be adopted, and they loved me the same anyway. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything, or maybe it would have. They were paid fortnightly for caring for me, and they would get $1,865.48. That's $4,702.48 per year they got just to raise me, which is about $52,295.77. I keep thinking about that number. Was that all I was? I wonder what I would change if I could go back in time. Edit 3. I am settled in the hostel now. It's not exactly luxury, to say the least. But at least I'm here now. I sent the text message, very slightly altered from the one I wrote yesterday. And then I left the group chat. I also posted it on Facebook. That was probably the wrong thing to do. I don't know. Final update. This is going to be my final update on all of this. I want to put everything behind me. Claire rang me crying, saying she had no idea I felt like this. How? How could she not know? She said she was sorry and begged me to come back. God. How do I ruin everything? She was telling me all these things about how she regrets the past few days so much and wishes she could take it all back. I said this is not fair. She cannot throw me out and then call me crying. I said it's manipulative. She just kept saying sorry. She said she loves me and wants me to come home. Jesus. This is just a lie, right? She must have known. Am I the bad person here? I feel so confused I don't know what to do. I just hung up and then she started texting me and I blocked her. But now I feel like I'm the bad person here. I'm so tired of this. Of all of this. I want nothing to do with any of them. I don't think Reddit is good for me. I'm not sure any of this is good for me. I'm going to delete the app. Sorry everyone. Relevant comments. Calamity Curls. I've been following along with your updates as you post them, OP, and I want to tell you that I'm so sorry you're going through this, that you deserve better, and that you are so strong in a situation where you shouldn't have to be. I'm glad your personal assistant is helping you, and I wish you nothing but success and happiness. OP answer. Thank you. I considered contacting my bio mum. Last time I spoke to her was when I was a young teen. But I think it might just be seeking out something to make myself feel more hurt, and I don't think I could deal with any more rejection. To bigger and better things. 8 marshmallows. I can't believe the Peters were too cowardly to even say anything to you. Will this whole situation make them ineligible for future placements? I would think there is a reporting structure and your personal assistant would be obligated to flag their file for this. OP answer. Doubt it. My personal assistant didn't even seem shocked by the situation as a whole, and I think my parents have framed it as us falling out to their social worker. Despite me making it clear that's not the case from my POV. My mother moved out, moved away with her fiancé, and left me feeling abandoned. She was a terrible mother. I tried posting this elsewhere, but I think it got caught in a spam filter and the mods haven't responded. I don't know if this is the right place to go either since I'm 16F. Like I mostly live with my dad, but I spend a weekend every month with mom. They divorced 3 years ago. Mom moved in with my cousin and it was cool cause I went there all the time. Like a year and a half ago mom made me go there, introduced me to this girl and came out to me and said they were dating. She and her fiancé are engaged now. She also said they were moving to Victoria in a week. So yeah, after a week she was gone. From where I am to her it's a drive, a ferry ride and then another drive. It takes a while to see her. That's why I can only go once a month. Since she left everything's been so sucky between us. Now it's like a good morning message and FT good night for 5 minutes. And everything else that changed with her just dipping like that sucks too. I don't even like visiting her, cause it's like I don't belong with her and her fiancé, but I went cause I thought that she wanted to see me and I miss her a lot every day. This weekend I was in Victoria and she was FT my cousin while I studied and they got to wedding talk. She said stuff like how her life is 100x better since she left. How she's finally got real happiness in her fiancé. Her fiancé is her world now and can't wait to fully move on from her old life. It just made me so freaking angry, like her life is so much better with me barely in it. And move on from that old life? I'm from that old life. I guess she noticed I was pissed cause at night she tried to talk to me. I said I didn't want to talk, but she's like she deserves to know when something's wrong with her girl since I always seem so depressed whenever I come over, and that just made me snap and I lost it and started shouting at her. I was like, I fucking hate the way she came out cause my life got a lot worse and it ruined things between us, and it sucks that it's like she wants me gone cause she's happier without me. That started a pretty bad argument cause she was like I'm blowing it out of proportion. I just don't understand. And then mom just left the room, but I heard her crying when I walked by her room to go to the washroom at night. In the morning her fiancé drove me to the ferry right after breakfast instead of after dinner. Since then it was just text cause I didn't want to talk to her. My dad and his GF have noticed my attitude, so yesterday I told them what happened and he flipped, telling me I couldn't say that shit to my mom, and his GF said I was an asshole for saying it. Before I went to sleep I FTD mom to talk again and she said my happiness is hers and if she's why I'm depressed I shouldn't see her till I'm ready. Now I don't know like if I was wrong to say that shit to mom or what I should do even. My fucking counselor is still in Barbados. My dad's at work and his GF's like she's staying out of it, and my cousin did too. Again, sorry if this is the wrong subreddit. If there's a better one for me to post, since the other one I tried doesn't seem to be it either. Please let me know. Update. So a lot of shit has happened since my last post, and I just feel more shit than before. I didn't plan on posting here again, but you all were so nice I thought it couldn't hurt to hear what you have to say. But I called my uncle. He wanted to see me, 'cause I was scared my dad told him, and then he's ashamed of me too 'cause he's gay and he's my fave uncle ever. So he picked me up after school and I went to his apartment and he just gave me a big hug because he knew something was up. So I told him what I said and why I said it, and that I was scared he'd be mad at me too if my dad was the one who told him. He just told me he isn't mad and he understands, and we played basketball at the court nearby until it was time for him to drop me off. That was like the last time I've even felt actually happy, 'cause the entire rest of this month has been such absolute shit. Like, I phoned my mom to say sorry the day after and talk about how I feel, but all she did was get mad at me for telling my uncle and said I'm not allowed to share stuff about her home without her permission. I said I was sorry about both things, but she said it didn't matter now and just hung up. Then her fiancé texted and just said to give my mom a few days to calm down. That just made me mad, 'cause why should I? She's my mom. I should be able to phone her whenever, and I tried, but she just declined my call, and then I think I turned off her phone. I don't know, I haven't slept properly at all since then, 'cause I think I ruined things with my mom for good. Like, all she's been doing is texting me and we've barely actually talked. Like, I keep thinking about it and my thoughts and dreams just get all messed up, and it's like I get this soft lump in my stomach that keeps coming and going the more I think about it. It feels like I was right about me being part of her old life, and I wish I'd never said what I did to her. Then it turns out I was supposed to get a tetanus shot when I was 11, but I didn't for some reason. We're not anti-vaxxers. So I had to get it now, 'cause Dad said Vancouver Coastal Health Authority was on his ass, and I ended up having a terrible allergic reaction to it. Like, I got sent to the hospital for a week 'cause of it. Like, apparently super rare reaction, hooray for me. And that fucked up my exams too, and my mom didn't even come see me 'cause she was going to a cabin with her fiancé the day after. She talked to my dad on the phone and learned how bad it was, but just texted me she knew I'd be better and that if I was still there when she came back she'd come right away. Like, it made me want to stay in the hospital for longer. She didn't fucking come, everyone came but her. Like, my cousin came every day, and my dad's GF even slept by me a few days, and my nieces and even my boyfriend's and best friend's moms came, but mine didn't. And when I got out, all I got was a text saying "so happy you're out of the hospital baby" with a selfie from her and her partner showing off the cabin included with it. Like, I couldn't stop looking at that stupid photo. I obsessed over it for days and kept getting that stupid feeling in my stomach, and so I smashed my phone, and my dad's GF heard and he got an emergency meeting with my counselor. She's a psychologist, but I've always called her that. Set up. And I told her everything but more details, Avi, and at the end of it she said I'm very likely depressed and might need treatment. I don't know. I got scared and asked her to tell my dad, and she did, and told us to get our family doctor to give a referral to a psychiatrist to get proper diagnosis for treatment, or to just get it from the family doctor. My dad got scared and made us get that referral the next day. My dad made the appointment and asked my mom to come, but she said she won't be able to and just texted me to stay strong and remember I'm the most important thing in the world to her. I don't know what to do. I don't want meds or anything. I just want my mom to love me like she used to again. If you guys have any advice on what to do, I need to hear it, 'cause it's like my mom isn't even listening to me anymore, and the appointment is on Friday and I'm feeling scared. Second update. So, I would have made an update earlier, but I just didn't have time. I'm in the hospital right now recovering from my ankle surgery, and all I have is time until I can go home on Friday, so I thought I might as well update. The day after I wrote my post I had my niece's mom, my cousin-in-law, but she introduces me as her little sister, so sister-in-law, drive me to my uncle, and he just gave me the biggest hug ever, and I don't know, I just ended up crying a little and they ended up calming me down. I told my uncle about the appointment with the psychiatrist and that I was scared even though everybody, you guys, was saying it would be okay, and that I'd just been so unhappy and that I'd just missed my mom so much. He agreed to go with me and my dad to the psychiatrist 'cause my mom wouldn't be coming. I don't know, I just didn't sleep at all that night and just felt so scared in the morning and kept thinking about mom and didn't want to go to school either, but I did go. Just felt so weird, like that feeling in my stomach was just there and not going away. Only hanging out with my boyfriend felt right, and before lunchtime I just fell asleep in class and got sent to the office. They phoned my dad and he signed me out and dropped me off at my uncle's house. He was already taking care of my niece, so I felt bad, but I went to sleep at the same time as her, and he took a really cute photo of us sleeping next to each other. He woke me up when my dad came back and we just went to the psychiatrist together. Long story short, at the end of the appointment the psychiatrist prescribed me a really low dose of antidepressants 'cause I'm still scared. I've been taking them and they have made me feel a bit better, but I have another appointment next week cause my counselor says I might need a higher dose. When I vented to my counselor, she said she'd be willing to host an extra joint session between me and my mom on Zoom if she agreed, and that it might help if I get my feelings across with a third party. I didn't want to do it, but some of you recommended it and my counselor said it could be a good first step. So I called my mom and it was a short conversation again, but she agreed to the counseling session and all I had to do was send her the Zoom link, so we set one up for later. So I had the Zoom session in our computer room so I'd be all alone there, and at first my mom seemed so excited because she was like, we can work through our issues and put them behind us. I don't want to talk about all of it. I mean, I couldn't anyway. I can't remember most of it, but it didn't go well at all. Like when my counselor brought up not being with her that much, my mom said when I came to University of Victoria, I'd obviously stay with her, and I just said after everything I didn't even want to go to the University of Victoria anymore and would rather just go to University of British Columbia cause everybody here actually wants me. My mom said that was ridiculous since outside of Waterloo, University of Victoria was the best option for software engineering in Canada and University of British Columbia only has electrical computer engineering, so I'd have to go to her if I still wanted to do that. I remember my mom said a few times like she'd spent over a decade doing nothing but being a mom, and now that she finally understood herself she just wanted time to explore that, and I should appreciate that. Then at the end of it I told my mom that I hated that she didn't come and see me in the hospital and that she didn't even phone me like I told her I was scared I'd die, and she just said it wasn't that serious cause it was a vaccine and those protect us, and to not act like it was serious. I don't know, that made me mad and I just muted my mic cause I didn't want them to hear me crying, but I kinda had a breakdown and just ran out to my dad and his fiance cause I was crying. They said they ended the session, but I don't know what they said to my mom or the counselor. Apparently I fell asleep crying on the couch while hugging my dad, but I don't remember any of it, but my dad said I was crying really loudly. I think they carried me to their bed because when I woke up in the morning I was there and my dad was on a mattress by the door and she was on one by the washroom door. They said it was to block me cause they were scared I'd try something. My dad took my new phone and laptop from me for a bit and said it might be healthy for me to stay off them for a bit. I have them back now. I haven't talked to my mom at all since then. I mean, not even good morning, good night texts. She hasn't contacted me at all about my broken ankle even though I had surgery yesterday, and I feel like she doesn't even care that I got hurt. Like, I know dad told her that I'm going to surgery, but she hasn't called. I have my phone and laptop back now, but my dad made me delete IG and Snap because he's worried seeing her on there might trigger me. A lot of you said I should stop talking to her, but I feel bad about it. Like when I think about it makes me feel worse, like it's over now and I don't have her anymore. I just want her back. The only time I learn what's up with her is if I go to my cousin, who my mom stayed with after the divorce, and ask, and apparently she's still happy and is occupied with all her wedding planning. Like, another thing that sucks is that I used to love watching Scream with my cousin, but now I can't even watch it cause I feel bad for Billy cause his mom left him too, and I feel bad for feeling like that cause he's the villain. So I couldn't even get through our rewatch and we couldn't even watch the new one. I told my counselor that I still feel really bad and sad and nothing's changed, and she said I need to bring it up at my next appointment with the psychiatrist so he can up my dose. I don't know, I feel confused and I don't like not seeing or talking to my mom at all. I feel like I've done the wrong thing. I've tried to do things we used to do with my dad's fiance and my boyfriend's mom, but it's not the same and I just miss her more, even though she probably doesn't miss me at all. I wish I could see her, but I don't want to keep ruining things for myself cause what if she doesn't want me anymore? I'd rant to my counselor about it, but I'm stuck in the hospital bed till Friday. So I guess that's why I'm back here looking for advice on what to do when I'm out of here. Third update. Hey guys, I'm posting again cause I'm confused as to what's going on and I thought maybe I'd get some opinions here before I bring it up with my therapist. Pretty much, I don't know if my mom hates me still or if now she wants to be my mom again. Because everything that she's done lately has made it so confusing. So my foot is still bad. The doctor said it's healing, but I'm mostly confined to crutches or to a wheelchair, and so I'm not really able to go to a lot of places. I mean, I can go anywhere, but I don't go cause it just takes too long to get around. I'm guessing that my cousin told my mom because apparently she came to New Westminster and did her wedding dress shopping there with my cousin and her fiance, and she didn't even tell me. I know we hadn't talked since the therapy session, but she promised me that I would get to do that with her and she didn't even tell me. I found out because when I visited my cousin she showed me the dresses she was going to wear at the wedding and at the reception, and the ones my mom and her got for me to wear at those. I was confused because I was sad she didn't take me, but happy cause that meant she still wanted me there. Anyway, her wedding was on Canada Day and I went with my cousin to Victoria a week earlier. My dad did say I didn't need to go, but I didn't want to miss it. We stayed at an Airbnb that my mom got for some of our relatives cause her place was too small. She didn't come to visit me there, but my cousin went to meet her and I didn't go cause my foot was hurting really bad. When she came back she said my mom was really disappointed I didn't come as well. The day after I was going to go shopping downtown with my cousin but then my mom came. Like when she saw me she didn't give me a hug like she usually gives, she just kinda held my shoulders and gave an awkward kiss on the cheek and said she's glad that I decided to come. Then she kind of turned me over to my aunt, my mom's cousin, to go shopping with instead cause she and my cousin would be busy that week with all the wedding stuff and making sure it all went perfectly so we couldn't go downtown. I love my aunt so it wasn't bad going downtown with her, she didn't even mind pushing me in the wheelchair, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. 2 days before the wedding they had this really big family dinner where my mom and her wife were introducing people to their relatives. Because my foot got swollen and the boot was hurting it I had to go in the wheelchair. So my mom didn't even introduce me to people and one of the few times I was able to talk to her, this guy related to her wife interrupted us, asked who I was and she just said don't worry about her and then had an aunt of mine wheel me away. That made me really upset but I did feel a bit better because her fiancé's parents brought gifts for me. Not my kind of stuff, I think they thought I was younger than I am. The wedding itself was cool, my foot wasn't badly swollen then so I was able to use my crutches. My mom acts so differently then and made me take a bunch of pictures with her and with her fiancé and she seemed so happy and told me that it was the best day of her life only because I came. At the reception I wore the dress that she got me but I couldn't walk in the crutches while wearing it. Not like the wedding one. So my aunt made me go in that dress and in my wheelchair even though I didn't want to. And my cousin said I could wear a different dress but my aunt was like my mom got the dress specially for me and will be upset if I don't wear it. Then at the reception I wasn't seated at the table with family near the stage where she and her fiancé sat but at a table with kids I didn't even know, even though some of my relatives younger than me were at the family table. My aunt said they moved me there because of my wheelchair but I just don't get why I couldn't be with my family. My mom didn't even take a photo with me at the reception, she just came to me once and said hi and I wasn't even in the family photo cause we didn't bring my crutches cause of my wheelchair so my aunt said my mom told them to leave me cause they couldn't fit me in. Then the day after we were going home my mom came to say goodbye to us. She talked to me alone for a minute and then she said sorry for everything that happened between us before and that she was hoping we could get past it but if we couldn't she was still happy. I came to her wedding. I didn't really get to say anything, cause she just hugged me and sent us on our way. I don't feel that sad about everything anymore though cause I think that the antidepressants have been helping. I have been feeling happier for about a month now and nothing has happened to me like I was afraid. For the last 2 weeks, my mom has been texting good morning and good night again when I didn't do anything, like text, call or phone or FaceTime since the therapy session with her. It hasn't been more than that but I've been saying it back. I'm just confused with the way she's acting and what she wants. Do you guys have any clue or advice? Edit, I wish I could say thank you to everybody who has commented and given advice. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to you personally, but it means so much to me that you guys cared. I've read everything and I will be bringing up a lot of this with my counselor. Thank you guys so much, I love you all. 4th update. So I got a phone call from my mom and I did answer, cause I guess I was curious, cause she's only been texting me since her wedding and she said she wanted me to come over and even though I was really missing her, because I was going to go with my uncle's family to Seattle that weekend, I said no. I think I would have said no anyway because I was just planning on staying away like everybody here suggested and my counselor also said that it might be good to define my life without her. She said okay but then the day after. I think she phoned my dad because he said that I had to go to Victoria instead. I told him I didn't want to go but we ended up arguing and he said that I didn't have a choice and my uncle would take me somewhere when I got back. So my dad dropped me and my cousin off at the ferry and when we got to Victoria it turns out my mom and her wife, I guess stepmom now, moved into their new house. My mom's wife wasn't there cause she was in Ottawa for work but her parents did come. They're really nice, they kind of went on about how they thought they'd never have grandkids and were so happy when they learned my mom had me. They did offer to get me some presents this time but my mom let them take me to dinner at some pierogi place downtown instead. I don't know what to think about the visit because so much of it was good but the one bad part was really bad. When I got there I wanted to talk to her about the stuff at her wedding and everything else and I wanted to tell her that I would rather have gone with my uncle but then I just felt really nervous and just couldn't because I don't know, I kind of felt like I'd just ruin the entire trip if I did. So I just didn't and maybe that was the wrong thing. The first thing I noticed in her house was her giant graduation picture where she's holding a baby me above the fireplace. Then my mom surprised me by showing me my room and it's perfect. I have a huge bed, a big personal washroom, a walk-in closet, one of those fancy standing desks and a TV. It's all white cause my mom was like when my foot is better she wants me to come and paint and decorate it all with her. She even promised she'd never let anybody use the room even if I'm not there that often. The first night after I got back from the pierogi place, My mom, my cousin and I stayed up so late just watching TV and I even fell asleep hugging her. The next day we went downtown and my mom took us shopping and then to the Royal British Columbia Museum, the one with the mammoths. My foot and my hands really started hurting after my mom made me use my crutches and not wheelchair because she said it'd be good exercise, so then she took us to a spa. We took so many pictures and I'm pretty sure she put them on Instagram, but I'm not allowed on it anymore, so I'm not sure. I was really tired when we got back so I conked out right away and when I woke up in the morning, Mom actually brought me pancakes in bed because of my foot, 'cause I love it when she makes those. The rest of that day was good too except at night my mom said that when I moved in for university, we could make every day like this so I reminded her that I might go to University of British Columbia instead. We got into a really big argument about university and I did scream at her and bring up stuff from before but pretty much my mom said that she wants me to go to University of Victoria. If I still want to do software engineering and said that if it was any other kind of engineering I wanted to do she wouldn't mind paying for the University of British Columbia but that it's not good for software. She did say she would still pay no matter where I went but she'd be really disappointed if I chose not to go to the best university for my degree where I could stay with her, just 'cause I blamed her coming out and moving for everything bad that's happened to me since then. She also said I needed to stop exaggerating how bad everything has been because it shouldn't make me change my university plan. I tried telling her that's not what I meant but I couldn't say it right and I fucking started crying and she seemed to get really mad. She didn't yell or anything but she just gave a frustrated sigh and said I needed to stop crying, grow up and accept that she handled things the best way she could and my attitude problems were why it's been a bad year for us. That just made me cry more, and she said if I don't grow up I'm never going to get a husband and then left the room. I just kind of kept crying 'cause I don't feel like any of that is true and the husband part was so fucking weird and I honestly can't stop thinking about that part specifically. Half an hour later, she came back with water and made me drink and started telling me how if I want to do computer or electrical or any other engineering she'd support the University of British Columbia but not the University of Victoria. Is the best for software outside of Waterloo and she doesn't want to send me so far away but will still pay for it if that's what I choose. I don't know why she wanted to keep talking about that but I didn't so I just agreed when she said she'll take me to talk to an advisor to convince me next time I come over. Me and my cousin left early the next morning, so yesterday. And my mom said she'd try and come over for my birthday because her in-laws really wanted to attend and that she'd try and make an appointment at the University of Victoria. Once my foot's better. The thing is that argument was the one bad thing about that visit. Everything else would have been perfect because it was just like it used to be with her and I don't even know if I'd be posting if it had been but I just can't stop thinking about the stuff that she said when we argued. I don't even know why she said the husband thing. I just don't get what the fuck she meant by that, or why she would bring it up. I'm not going to smash my phone this time but I do feel mad thinking about it. I told my cousin about the argument we had on the way back and she told me she personally thinks I should go to University of British Columbia and would try to convince my mom but that she thinks she just wants me to live with her again. I told my dad and his fiancé about it and he apologized for making me go but said that he had to. He and his fiancé have checked on me a dozen times already. Like, I'm get that stupid fucking feeling in my stomach again every time I think about it and I wish I'd been able to go with my uncle instead. But I am going to spend the rest of the week at his apartment so I guess it's fine. I'm going to go to my counselor again today before my uncle picks me up. Does anybody have any advice for me that I can bring up? 'Cause we went through comments posted here last time. Fifth update. So some stuff has happened. I've pretty much just been texting with my mom since my visit to her. I tried to keep it good night, good morning but when I didn't respond to her other messages, she phoned my dad and he told me I didn't have to phone her but to at least respond to her other messages. I did have to go to Victoria for Thanksgiving because her wife's whole family was going to be there and she told my dad I had to go. I was only there for 3 days with my cousin and the first 2 days, my mom pretty much spent with me and it was like it used to be again. Like she and I went shopping. We even cuddled to sleep watching TV again but the third day she and her wife were focused on the dinner and guests and everything so I get it. Yeah, I was upset that she paid really little attention to me, but her wife's entire immediate family was there and I get that she needed to focus on them. But when we left after dinner, we had to take the really late ferry. My mom said bye and that she was going to book a meeting at the University of Victoria to take me to and didn't even give me a second to talk about it before waving us bye. And then it went back to just texting good morning, good night until my birthday. So then my mom and her wife came with her wife's parents because my mom was like they really wanted to celebrate my birthday. I guess they're my step-grandparents but I really like them and they seem to really like me too. I mean, my step-grandma said the best thing about the wedding was that they finally got a grandchild and they brought a lot of presents for me. They have a niece around my age and they had her go out with them and just get so much stuff that they think someone my age will like, and I do like it. My mom got me an album of pictures of us and said to look at the photos whenever I miss her cause it'll make it like she's right there with me. At the party, Mom and Dad seemed to get along just like when they were married. Like they were laughing, telling jokes and even had me do goofy pictures with them like we all used to. Mom's wife got along with Dad's fiancé and with my uncle, his son and his son's wife. My mom didn't talk to my uncle at all beyond when he came to say hi to her and she said hi in a really mean tone to him, which was weird since they used to be so close. I guess she's still mad at him for when I talked to him about what was going on. She was really weird with my boyfriend and was nonstop making jokes about him and me getting married and making her a grandma. She straight up said to him, I don't want you to wait until I'm gray and in my 40s to make me a grandma. But his mom also got in the jokes, so I guess it was just a mom thing. My mom and her wife left after only about an hour and a half in order to go stay at a fancy hotel all the way over by Cole Harbor, even though my dad did offer them a room. Mom just said she doesn't feel it'd be appropriate to stay in the same house as him and it's too painful for her, cause she designed the house when I asked her why she couldn't stay. It did piss me off cause they came at 4 o'clock and so when everyone was setting up I guess that means they missed the actual party. My step-grandparents stayed though and only left in the morning when my mom and her wife came to pick them up. Then at like 8:30, my mom FaceTimed me but it looked like she and her wife were in the hotel spa or something. It doesn't make sense cause I thought those closed pretty early in the day but they were wearing those robes and looked like they were someplace really fancy. Then my mom was like she has to hang up cause she doesn't want me to see them without clothes on and they were both giggling at that. That really fucking pissed me off that they ditched my birthday to go hang out in a spa. Maybe they were actually doing something else but I honestly don't want to even think about that beyond what I have. Then there was the album that she gave me as a present. I didn't really think about that a lot then because I was just happy that she came. But I did try yesterday because my dad's fiancé was meeting with some of her relatives for last-minute planning because her and dad's wedding is on Sunday. I wasn't with them because I was studying but when I did leave my room to get my charger I heard them talking about me. My dad's fiancé was saying the best stuff about me but her relatives were saying some shitty things about my mom and she wasn't stopping them. She was also talking about how my mom is forcing my dad's hand to send me to her over winter break instead of my uncle's cause that's when their honeymoon is. I didn't mean a spy and I get now that I'm writing about it that what they were saying wasn't exactly wrong and they were only saying it because they didn't think I'd hear but it really fucking pissed me off and it still does. So because I was upset I looked at the album and it's pictures of both of us from when I was a baby until now. Behind each picture she slid a note about why that memory is special or what the picture means to her if she can't remember. But it just made me angry because of how few photos there are from after she moved to Victoria. Most of them are the ones of the wedding day and barely anything before that. There's one photo in it that was like a month before she came out and it's when she lived at my cousin's house and pretty much I surprised her with cookies that my cousin and I made that day. When I surprised her, she hugged me so tight and told me she was so proud of me and my cousin took the photo on her phone. But that night I found her crying in her room and she said it's because I'm growing up and said something like how she wishes she could live in moments like that forever since she's so proud of me. And it just makes me so mad because that's what I want back and the fact that I'm not even in photos of her pre-wedding events and reception and so much other stuff in Victoria just makes it seem as if the album is her giving me proof that I've barely been in her life and that I should be happy for it. And I know I shouldn't be thinking that because she actually gave me such a good gift and I'm poisoning it in my own mind instead of valuing it and all the memories inside. My therapist has been trying to help me define life without her and it's hard cause I don't want to because I can't let go of this feeling that it could be good again and I don't want those people to be right. My therapist says it's all right to want that but for my own sake I need to in case it doesn't ever happen and it'll help once I'm in university so I've been trying but I hate it. So, I guess I came here again to ask for advice and stuff I can bring up in therapy. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I also thought that perhaps the grandparents-in-law saw how little OP was being acknowledged and wanted to change that. If they were really crazy about having a grandchild they would probably want a genetic one. I think they might possibly be decent people trying to help that poor neglected kid. Op's mother is a cruel, disgusting human being. Comment 2. I get that feeling too. Mom was completely okay with leaving her old life, her daughter, behind, until wannabe granny grandpa started wanting to be involved. Now daughter has value. It's so infuriating that all these adults, minus the uncle, keep blaming shifting onto her. Like why does this kid have to make all the goddamn adjustments in behavior and attitude? Of course she is depressed that her mom threw her away. But this kid keeps acknowledging. And she could be handling things better instead of making them worse. She isn't. It is normal to be mad at mom for treating her like an unwanted wedding crasher. She justified every shitty thing as something she, the kid, could have done better. No. She could have had a teenage meltdown when mom ditched her for the wedding dress shopping or when she didn't even introduce her at the wedding. Being put at the kids' table. Fucking police. Comment 3. The husband comment makes way more sense now if she wants her to have kids. That's totally why she said that. She wants her daughter to have kids so the in-laws have grandkids. That's totally it. Why would a lesbian make a comment like that to their daughter? It seems so weird and not something a gay person would say. But if she wants her daughter to have kids, of course she wants her to have a husband. She probably wants to speed that process along. What a fucking awful thing to say to your 16-year-old daughter while she's crying. Instead of being empathetic and understanding, she dismisses her feelings, insults her, then tells her she won't ever get a husband. I hope this girl realizes she doesn't need her mom. She's not at fault, and she gets better with her depression. My mom and sister spent years trying to push me back into my ex's arms, but I married someone else, and now we're expecting a baby. When I was 16, I started seeing my best friend. Together until I graduated from high school, he proposed and I turned him down. My family asked me to rethink as we may have a lengthy engagement or pledge to reunite, and there was much turmoil with them. For a while, my relationship with my 36-year-old brother weakened. The one with my sister, who is 32, never recovered. She got intolerable when she started dating my ex's brother as she was confident my ex was the ideal fit for me. My siblings invited my ex everywhere, including several family holidays, but I said nothing since he was their friend as well. That is until my sister started advocating for our reunion. No matter the circumstance, my sister tried everything from try to arrange for us to share a room during holidays to setting us on blind dates. One invited my ex to it. I had enough after a time and urged my parents to step in. They stopped inviting my ex to events or letting him tag along so much and were upfront with my siblings. It was only marginally better, but while my brother withdrew, my sister did not. It all came crashing when I ran across my husband on a semester abroad. We simply clicked even though he attended another university but from a different nation. For me, it was fantastic. We started dating a year ago. Except for my sister, my family was really glad for me. She persisted in saying I would grow out of the honeymoon phase. I obviously didn't, and I would quit talking to her if she pulled anything else after many battles and tried to get me back with my ex. After that caution, what does she do? She appoints one of her friends as my husband's date, asks me to spend all my time with the bridal party, aka my ex, and makes me her maid of honor. The poor girl tried to pass at my husband, and we didn't know until we were at the reception. Since we are not married, my sister stated it was acceptable to explore things with others. I left the celebration, and the next day I chatted with my brother and parents. I said that although I won't force them to make decisions, I will not interact with my sister ever again and will cut off all communication with them should they try to mend things between us. While my dad and brother indicated they would support my choice, my mom was distraught and sought to compromise. Apart from 2 tries from my mother, over 6 years I haven't spoken, written, or anything with my sister. From gifts to tantrums, my sister has tried everything to mend with me, but I hardly interact with her at all. If we're at a family dinner or gathering, I just pretend she doesn't exist. She tried to generate drama or made snide remarks at first, but she gave up when nobody supported her. She would not be involved in any planning even though she did have a meltdown upon learning she was invited to my wedding. According to my brother, his relationship with my ex has worsened subsequently and he feels bad for continuing along for so long. Though they are not as close now, they still talk. The problem? I finally said we are having our first child. My mom's birthday was several weeks ago. Though my first granddaughter, this is not the first grandchild. Except my sister, everyone was really delighted. My mother observed that and asked me for tea one other day. Though my sixth sense warned me not to attend, I wanted to be optimistic. When I arrived, my sister's automobile caught my first attention. Then there was my sister, her husband, my ex, and his lunch as I walked in the door. Since my childish approach has lasted for so long, they wanted to intervene. My ex said he was merely trying to be romantic, but he realizes I wouldn't value it. His mother apologized already. I should forgive her since I was only hurting his sister for wanting the best for me. I was just texting my dad, brother, hubby, and looking at my mom incredulously. My brother-in-law had the guts to tell me I was a nasty person and I should learn how to act like an adult since I am now pregnant. My mother then started reading a letter about how hurt her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong but she was well-intentioned, etc. My sister then read her letter, started to cry and told me essentially another form of what the others did. I sat there until my brother showed up. I said nothing to anybody. Beyond anything I have ever seen, he was furious. He took my items and informed them all he was truly disgusted and disappointed. We left and remained in his car until my dad and husband showed up. By then I was just crying and he kept apologizing. I'm not sure what occurred there, but I emailed everyone except Mom, including my lawyer's contact details attached, and said I never want to be bothered by any of them ever again. Should they, I will report it to the police. Nobody has got in touch, but my dad told me from experience that my mother and sister are hysterical. They assured him they hope to fix things and for my sister to be in my baby's life, maybe even acting as a godmother. Right now my dad is living with my brother. While some family members don't, others help me. Since my sister is now following the narrative that my husband is keeping me away from my family, I have even had mutual acquaintances phone me concerned about her well-being and asking me what happened. Although I detest having my business open to the public, I did follow the public path and shared a lengthy Facebook post about everything that happened. Though it wasn't exactly planned, I believe my sister, brother-in-law, and ex are deserving of dragging. Now my mother has been inconsolable, which makes me uncomfortable, but not as horrible as she made me feel with her little intervention. A few days ago, I agreed to meet with her and set the ground rules for any future contact, including therapy, family therapy, explicit boundaries, no sharing of information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Above all, she will definitely be cut off should she ever do anything similar once more. She is ready to do it even though she feels this is excessive. She believed it meant instant access to baby news and that it was all fixed, but I explained to her it is a process and she has to show she has changed. My dad and brother continuously apologizing for not halting their refusal to interact with my sister earlier. Since they were able to go on and flourish, we have forgiven them. Though my MIL is dubious if cutting my mom's access to her grandchild is the best course of action, my husband supports whatever I decide upon. She feels it is finally my choice. About what to do with my mom, I'm conflicted. Commenter. What is their rationale now that you are expecting? Should you quit acting out make-believe with your husband and come to see your happily ever after resides with your ex? Regarding your child, what? Will your ex and his family welcome her? Oop. Although my sister says she is not trying to bring us together anymore, I cannot take away her opportunity to be an aunt. She stated I'm a poor sister since I spend so much time with my fantastic sisters-in-law. Of course, I disagree with her. My problem is knowing what to do with Mom. Commenter. She wouldn't be your best friend without you dating your ex. OOP stands for, though I wish I could tell you, I have no idea her mental process is. My spouse believes she is simply psychologically sick. The ex, he still owns the mixtapes and CDs I created for us while we were dating, which is the most ludicrous and terrifying thing. He still finds great value in those objects, which are roughly 20 years old. Commenter. I'm kind of amazed your stalker ex, and yes, I will call him that, is still in your brother's life. Said another way, hold strong with your mother. No deadlines, she must prove she can follow your guidelines. Your sister has to live with the results of her deeds. OOP. To be fair to my brother, he did start to cut him off when I informed my parents I was somewhat uncomfortable with my ex always there. I lived away for college but would see my family on breaks. He also worked very hard to make my husband welcome, which degraded his relationship with my ex even more since he felt betrayed by my brother. My husband is one of my brother's closest friends nowadays. He only talks to my ex about our nephew or to avoid being nasty. Commenter. You have to understand that your mother is endorsing all of this. She knows your mom also believes it's appropriate, therefore a major reason Big Sis is ongoing this. This makes me somewhat depressed since my mother was always so friendly to my husband and now I'm questioning their whole relationship. For some background, neither Indian nor from a religious family are we. My parents were decent, polite ones. At first, they considered it to be a romantic thing, but subsequently came to see it wasn't. They pushed me to start college and all around. Now, I know my dad really helped me and my mom might have just followed along and had the same ideas as my sister. My sister suggested that we would be best friends with the brothers. Update 1, same day, 16 hours later. The modification I wanted to post but couldn't. I want to thank you for the so far great support and guidance. Since there are too many for me to personally address, I would like to add a bit more information in my remarks. I broke up with my ex when I was 18. He is 47 today. Our separation sprang from my unwillingness to be engaged or married. The fixation of my sister on wanting both of us to be best friends and brides drives her insistence. Although my mother has always been rather kind to my husband, I am starting to believe it was all a show, which makes me rather depressed. Although he has 2 children with an ex and has been with other people since the separation, my ex has never been married. Given he has only ever wanted to marry me, my sister feels that is a really romantic thing to do. I should also emphasize that his compulsive actions go beyond myself. From the grapevine, I know he was quite similar with his children's mother. Now he is focusing on me since my sister is supporting it, since she wants his help in returning me to my good graces so she can be a good aunt. When I informed my parents I was somewhat uncomfortable with my ex always there, my brother did start to cut him off. I lived away for college but would see my family on breaks. He also made a very great effort to make my husband welcome, which degraded his relationship with my ex even more since he felt deceived by my brother. My husband is now among the closest friends of one of my brothers. He only talks to my ex over our nephew, the son of my sister, or to avoid being nasty. Although I suppose only my dad was in agreement, both of my parents seemed to be encouraging of my not wanting to be around my ex so much. We would enjoy quality time together. Thus my mom told my dad she was making my preferred tea and cookies on the day of the tea party, but he could remain. Thinking it would be a great sentiment from my mom, my dad left to hang with my uncle. Right now he is really irate. When they met, my husband tried very hard with my sister. Now he simply dismisses her and thinks she is mentally sick. Though we don't know whether she is or not, her behavior cannot justify anything. Their official perspective is that it would be best for me to confront the core of my problems with my sister, hence they invited the ex and his mother. Furthermore, my spouse and I are from the same race. We are not really religious, neither Indian. Neither my ex nor my spouse have any financial differences. If such exists, it would benefit my husband. Finally, the circumstances infuriate my sisters-in-law, both the wife of my brother and the sisters of my spouse. My husband's sisters and he will be discussing her comment with their mother. My brother and his wife are debating permanently cutting off all communication with my mother. They would let her visit my nephews for a while in between either. The more I read, the more I believe I might have to go no contact with my mother for the benefit of my child. Thinking all their interactions were phony breaks my spouse, and he becomes even more angry that she made me doubt I was a nice person. Although I know my family still has a lot of talks to go concerning my mother, I will surely be getting a restraining order against my sister and the ex. Here is the appropriate semi-update on the current situation of my family. My mother said she knew better even after we spoke. She claimed I am a nasty person and that she will be obtaining either custody or rights pertaining to grandparents. Though I am nothing like what she describes, I still panicked, so we wrote her a letter about it. Moving permanently, my dad informed her he could stand by her terrorizing his child. Also choosing to go no contact are my brother and his wife. Though I understand it appears somewhat abrupt, I believe I understated the degree of hopelessness I experienced following the intervention. Later on, my husband advised them to consider very carefully what they valued and to be friendly and open to everything but would not raise a child in a poisonous environment. Reason 3,271,637. I love my hubby for this. My mother and her fakeness really break my hubby. She will never get anything from him, he says, which is as much retribution he wants. My MAL was informed about her comment by my husband and sisters, who also helped her to see why it was rather out of line. She is, as many of you would guess, a very devoted mother from a lovely family. My dad and brother keep atoning for any part they contributed to this. It astounds my dad that we have reached this position. For him, he claims, everything is still strange. Still, they claim they are ready to assist me in battling any foolish struggle my mother or sister might muster and back me no matter what. Update 2. I would like to thank you for the nice words and encouragement. I chose to publish it here so it wouldn't be removed as the original was. Though they are both wonderful and terrible at the same time, I am trying to keep upbeat about everything. Sitting my nephews down, my brother and his wife told them Grandma was sick and tried to hurt Auntie Diamond and the tiny cousin. Grandma might not be living with them anymore, they said, but that does not mean she loves them less. Though the kids are smart, it was really difficult. Although Auntie is no longer in their life, they do not care as they hate her, not because of me alone, but rather because she is not exactly great with them either. When she was told, my mother lost it and began asserting she had rights and she would be able to visit her grandkids. Mostly because of my brother's MIL coming to visit, my dad is looking for a permanent apartment but will stay with us until January. We have the space. He is quite depressed. He has contacted divorce attorneys, moved bank records, etc. already. My mother has been sending him innumerable emails, messages and calls, but he responds to nothing. He was advised not to block her right now by the lawyer. He thought about maybe forgiving her, but a few days after my last post here I had a significant increase in blood pressure since she chose to visit my house with his sister. Though my mom knew I didn't want her there and my sister had never visited my house, I suppose that doesn't matter now. Knowing my mom, the cleaning girl let them in. I haven't had time to let her know she was not allowed to enter anymore. I observed the automobile while I was returning from some errands. I skipped this time as well. I phoned every relative, and my husband's sister, was the one closest by. She challenged them and warned them either they left or I would call the cops on them for trespassing. They went and I started to feel ill. When we visited the doctor, they advised me that all the excitement was not good and that I should start unwinding or else the baby would suffer. Along with my brother, uncle, and husband, my dad headed home carrying every single item he could have thought of. According to my husband, my sister was also present and kept yelling at him that he wrecked her family. My dad told my mother and sister they nearly killed the infant and he also wants not to interact with any of them once more. Though it is not happening, my sister kept messaging my brother begging for aid. Since his mother has some crazy beliefs, my nephew is losing so much of his family. Hence, I am devastated and somewhat sad for him, but it is what it is. Regarding the custody and grandparent rights my mother wishes to exercise so much, my attorney wrote her a letter declaring she harmed the kid and my health and declaring, should she continue to harass me, it will become official legal business. Using her harassing of me as justification, my brother also sent her a letter. My mother and sister have both turned down attending treatment. Although they may be mentally sick, given all of this comes to light, it is clear they have long-standing agreement. Spending holidays with my family, maintaining health, and attending therapy will be my main priorities. Update 3. Hi, I figured it would be a good fit as I had some time and had several requests for an update. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your comments, letters, and every piece of advice since we owe you for making us even more cautious than we were. A few asked me what process we utilized to find the baby's gender. After 20 weeks, I announced it. We wanted to be sure and feel comfortable about the announcement, hence we waited so long because we had experienced a loss in the past and we were ready to share it. We were also stupid enough to believe it would be especially meaningful for my mother. I sent it to my husband after publishing, and he spent a few days reading your comments, mails and advice. We cleaned the house and fortunately discovered nothing, but we still felt somewhat vulnerable and so visited a motel with my dad. Then we discovered a tracker on the vest of my fur baby. He has a humorous vest since he is a pretty small dog and gets cold a lot. I never would have considered checking there, but we found the tracker when my dad took him around the hotel grounds. My sister approached him about me and reconciliation. We moved since I was somewhat offended. We are fortunately able to afford it. Not merely empty, we are renting our former house as well as right now. That house used to be my favorite, but today I feel it's destroyed and contaminated in some sort. Sadly, not just me but also my brother, spouse, dad, and even the family of my husband feels the same about their residence. We changed our numbers, acquired new devices, and let friends, companies, and the police know. We began family and therapeutic sessions as well. Nevertheless, I have really forgiven my dad and brother, they still feel great shame about the circumstances. We are healing as a family nevertheless. Mom and sister argue they don't need therapy and they are not wrong. My dad created a new will whereby my sister's son receives a trust fund and some inheritance but my sister receives a nominal sum. He really is done with her. Though I felt awful for her, I resolved to concentrate on my baby. She is here, we are blessed. Since my mother is no longer with me, this is not the experience I considered. Yet many friends and relatives have really surprised us. Eventually, we were so worried that we began testing some people we knew nothing about by telling them I was about to go into labor. It worked like magic. We cut off those who were still providing information to my mother and sister. When we clarified the thinking, the rest made sense. We have been having a torrid affair because of my undying love for the baby, thus my ex, who my friends now call Bates, went around stating the baby was his. Nobody believes him now, but it caused my husband to call Bates's company and inform him of all the madness. Long story short, Bates was suspended while internal review was under progress. Given their requests for more and more information and their seeming contrition, I nearly guarantee he will be let go. My mother has searched for us, but none of the people who know of our whereabouts have contacted her either. Her dad's attorney wrote her a letter saying that since she is unstable, all letters will now go via attorneys. Just my dad and myself since I felt so horrible for him being by himself. I still feel terrible even though he has assured me he will be all right and that nothing is my fault. In the world, he has been the best diaper changer, feeder, and babysitter. As usual, my nephews are loving. My dad even visited the son of my sister. She started creating films threatening to injure herself if my husband stopped isolating her from the family, thus this came about. She seems to have stopped it when my dad emailed her regarding visiting her son and advised her he would call the police about her threats. Finally someone mentioned that I gave Bates false hope. That cannot be more far from reality. I spent years uncomfortable since I assumed he would move on. After I spoke out and saw my husband, I spent a lot of time berating my sister over it. I married after my sister as I had a very long engagement. Though I still love my mother and sister, I put a good life for my family and me over that affection. Over this entire process, I have come across a great deal of compassion, love and loyalty. Strange as it sounds, I feel happy that all of this exploded. Hopefully, it is not too tangy. Many hugs from me. Update 4. My dad moved into the guest house when we formally settled into a new house. We concluded that although it would be great for him to be with us, we all still need our space after many conversations, in and outside of therapy. We will be choosing what to do with the previous place later. We are still renting it now. About 3 times a week now, my dad has grandchildren all gathered around. She refuses to allow him to have the child until she knows where he lives, which, to be fair, is a typical thing. But considering she is insane, we do not want her around. He still needs to see my sister's child separately. Mom objected to the lawyers about how unjust it is. Though little she can do about it, my dad still gets to visit every grandchild. My dad informed me he had a confession around a month ago and, dear reader, my stomach started hurting. She still lets him see me since he pays for my nephew's, sister's child, tuition and babysitting. Not wanting to keep secrets, he felt so bad for hiding it. I told him to relax and that there was nothing wrong with it. My dad received an email on Mother's Day with a link to an Instagram account with a somber video on my mother and how most of her family has deserted her, as well as how much of a saint my sister is for being there for her. Though I just forwarded it to the attorney, it was truly pitiful and infuriated me. Dad formally asked for divorce in May, and the procedure is still underway. I believe that's final as my dad said he would sooner drink bleach than go back to her and my mom insists he is mistaken. My dad was given Father's Day by my brother and husband, who had a great time. That day, my sister uploaded a lot of items, but we wanted Dad to enjoy the day, hence we blocked him from ever knowing about it. They also went to a hotel, got a suite, and set up a tent in the middle area for the kids and a little tippy for the infant on a camping trip with them. To be honest, one of the finest things I've ever done is have a baby. Witnessing my husband be the wonderful father I knew would make me very happy. Though it is demanding, we have a lot of help. I have my rocks at my side, thus I am thankful beyond everything. My sisters-in-law and I now have a little calendar for sharing age-appropriate activities for the children. If they so want, we let them know they do not need to hang out with individuals they dislike and that their voices count. We have tiny get-togethers, brunches, etc. Right now, they are all fixated on the infant and claim to be her defenders. To be honest, without my sister present, family time is now a delight rather than a chore. She simply saps the enthusiasm from the room. I know it's awful to say. Along with staying in the guest room roughly once a week, my meal enjoys spending time with the baby. She replied gently that she wanted nothing from the infant for sleepovers or anything. She respects and listens to me and sure, I have broken down occasionally as I miss my mom a lot. I miss the mother I had, or believed I had, not the one who informed me I would be a nasty woman or awful mother. According to my therapist, it's a marathon and to keep the positive first. About good, Bates was let go. Not only that, but his industry's reputation suffered nuclear-level harm as well. So was his brother's, but he still has his job as far as I know since Bill is not in an industry that gives reputation much thought. About his hurt, how I'm denying him what is his, and how my husband is so intimidated by him that he had to go and professionally destroy him since he cannot ruin anything else, Bates sent me a 12-page, double-sided, single-spaced letter. I say seems as my lawyer reviewed it and sent me a synopsis. I did not read it. The grapevine also told me, no, I don't ask anyone, they just tell me since they know he is stalking me, that the mother of his children relocated and he didn't even care and stated it was for the best. This man wants to play family with the baby and me and hardly gives his children any thought. Mommy already let him move back in with her, hence sadly he won't be homeless or anything. I doubt he will learn anything from this. Not the most flashy update, but rather just what is. Oh, and with my dad's okay, my spouse burnt or donated every single item my mom or parents handed him. Even with memories, he believes, life is too short to allow her room in his life. Commenter. I am rather happy you are visiting all that with the intact good portions of your family. I appreciate Bates as a nasty guy, but has he ever done anything relevant or connected to his work? I truly don't see the firing component. OOP. It's a really close-knit one. And when you have a bad reputation, it shocks you. He is not giving up his business. Before this, he was considered as a good but detached feminist single dad. He even informed certain colleagues that I stayed with him for more than our scheduled visit. Commenter. OOP, I have respect and am sorry for what you faced. I am reading your entire story from the best of Reddit from my house in India at 1:30 a.m. As healthy and pleasant as you both are, I hope your child develops to be as well. Also, I hope this whole mess ends soon so you may be back with your mother following the end of her XF dream. Respect you, keep fighting. OOP. That's a great attitude, but I will never chat to my mom once more. I miss her a lot. I shed a lot of tears. The baby deserves the greatest family we can offer, and my mother is not part of it. She is not the person I thought she was. Though I have to safeguard the baby, it hurts. New update. Long time, no saw. Though first I want to thank you for all of your comments and letters. I have some updates for you. I value it greatly as every time I log into this account I am inundated with essentially wonderful stuff. Nobody will probably read this, but for those that want updates, they are mostly decent. Let's get right on with that out of the way. Now, following several arguments and outbursts from my mother, my parents are divorced. That is it, kept the house and received a lump payment. We are all quite thrilled for my dad, who seems like a new man. A little flashback. We didn't terminate our cleaning lady during all the hoopla. This woman had been serving my husband's family for decades, and her absence from work due to what her insane relatives did caused great anxiety in me. We are not slobs either, and she is not kneeling or anything like that polishing floors. In any case, my dad told her she was on paid vacation till we moved into a new house and to kindly wait for us should she wish. She was not fired at all. Her family was likewise really delighted about it. Because they were so appreciative of what he was doing for them, my dad occasionally started gathering food and goods from them. Well, my dad is currently seeing her. Her sister runs her own nail business. She is a really beautiful woman who has grown children, hence she can relate to the dynamics occurring occasionally. She is happy with him as he has been quite clear that he is neither moving or getting married. She values her independence. When her mother learned about his new relationship, she almost passed out. She kept claiming it was a late midlife crisis and he had to turn to be a sugar dad. I obviously heard this since I don't interact with her, but last I heard she is struggling. She depends on my dad and struggles as she was never adept in budgeting. She had to stop making insane purchases. My dad is not assisting my sister with money anymore, hence she is also suffering. You see, he was ready to stay on helping for my nephew's benefit, but then things became very difficult. Starting to nickname my child an affair baby, my nephew said she is not with her own father. Saying they were only he, not my kids' cousins, he pushed one of my nephews on my husband's side during a birthday party, calling my other nephews delusional. The children were bewildered and thus very confused, but they told an adult right away. Dad spoke with him, but he kept repeating it. When he spoke with my sister, she claimed she had no way to stop a child from speaking the truth and that not all children always do. He is severing them, he informs her till something changes. She sobbed and fretted, but she also was really tenacious. My nephew attends public school now since my spouse forced my dad to cut them off. Bates, well, he is still without work. I know I was vague about it, but some of it had to do with stalking, irony much, and he worked in a field connected to vulnerable women. He was therefore sacked for this. The company he worked for didn't want this all over them. He has sent 2 more very long, handwritten, rambling letters. As he only has my lawyer's address, guess who has the honor of reading, compiling and submitting those rams? My lawyer is a champ, I love him. Apart from that and the rumors, I have not had any negative experiences involving him except one. A random woman approached me at the grocery shop to find out whether my child was Bates's baby. I was startled and froze. She stated he had a picture of us on his page when I asked her what she was on, and I should feel bad for hurting such a decent man. Turns out he is still following the story that my child is his and that I loved him so greatly. That is all old news. The picture comment really startled me the most. There is nothing public or like that about this picture. That is it. It was emailed once to a family group. I told my husband right away, and he got furious but under control. We made the decision to smoke the rat. To cut a long tale short, my dad's 2 sisters were providing information to my mother. Though he was somewhat let down, my dad had no questions about cutting them off. They still implore him to meet with them once more. His family and mine are doing fantastic. We have seen them frequently and have spent some family holidays since the last update. They also hardly interact with my sister and mother. Since it turns out she was not a fan of our mom but preserved the peace, my SIL is actually quite glad about it. Also quite beautiful are my in-laws. She is over the moon about us allowing male overnight babysitting now. Her grandchildren are all happy to be with her. Sometimes she has all of them under one roof. She used to be a flight attendant, Hence their preferred game is to act like an airline. We don't worry as they love her generally and we know she is nice with our children. My mother kept stalking her, so she had to make her socials private. She prepared her own bed, hence I am sure she is quite jealous. Last but not least, my hubby keeps me sane even in small matters. We wonder whether we ought to adopt another baby or even have one. We still have to decide, but we have a tremendous support network and the advantage to have these talks. I still long greatly for my mother. When I know there are milestones I can no longer enjoy with her, I occasionally cry. Yet, she is a bad person. Thus the safety of my family comes first. Last interesting tidbit. They went camping last Father's Day. It was excellent save from some poorly placed sunburns and bug bites.